ఉంటాయి. తర్వాత చేయాల్సింది ఏంటంటే మొత్తం మీకు క్లియర్గా మీకు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు. దాని తర్వాత మీకు డౌట్స్ ఉంటే ఒక హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ పాటు కూడా అన్ని కూడా క్లారిఫై చేస్తారు. నేను ఏంటంటే సెమినార్ త్వరగా ఇప్పటికే కావాలి, సెమినార్కి టైం అవుతుంది కాబట్టి ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ అవర్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ టుడేస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ మోహన్ రావు గారిని ప్రెసిడెంట్ చేయవలసిగా కోరుతున్నాను.
థ్యాంక్ యూ రాజేంద్ర. సభకు నమస్కారం. ఆదివారం ఉదయం కాఫీ తాగుతూ పిల్లలతోనూ ఫ్యామిలీతో సరదాగా గడపాల్సిన సమయంలో నిజంగానే టెన్షన్ పెట్టారని అంటున్నారు.
తర్వాత చేయాల్సింది ఏంటంటే మొత్తం మీకు క్లియర్గా మీకు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు. దాని తర్వాత మీకు డౌట్స్ ఉంటే ఒక హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ పాటు కూడా అన్ని కూడా క్లారిఫై చేస్తారు. నేను ఏంటంటే సెమినార్ త్వరగా ఇప్పటికే కావాలి, సెమినార్కి టైం అవుతుంది కాబట్టి అది
ఒకటి రెరా, రెండవది జిఎస్టీ. అందరికీ తెలిసిందే. రెరా గురించి మన రాష్ట్రం ఒక పెక్యులర్ సిచ్యువేషన్ ని ఎదుర్కొంటుంది. రెరా బిల్లు పాస్ అయి పార్లమెంట్లో తక్కువై 1 year అయినా కానీ దేశంలో ఎక్సెప్టింగ్ 2 states ఎక్కడా కూడా కాంప్రహెన్సివ్ రెరా గురించి మన రాష్ట్రం ఒక పెక్యులర్ సిచ్యువేషన్ ని మన రాష్ట్రంలో రూల్స్ ఫ్రేమ్ చేశారు. స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ రెగ్యులేటరీ అథారిటీని ఇంకా అపాయింట్ చేయలేదు. ఈ పరిస్థితుల్లో ఆన్గోయింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ కానివ్వండి, కొత్తగా స్టార్ట్ అయిన ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ కానివ్వండి, అగమ్యగోచరంగా ఉంది వాళ్ళ పరిస్థితి. అలాగే జిఎస్టీ వచ్చిన దగ్గర నుంచి అందరూ భయపెడుతున్నారు. జిఎస్టీ అంటే ఏంటో ఉంది, మీరు చాలా పేపర్ వర్క్ ఉంది, మీరు అకౌంటెంట్స్ని పెట్టుకోవాలి, ఫైనాన్స్ మేనేజర్ ఉండాలి కంపెనీలోనూ అని చెప్పి కుదరగొడుతున్నారు. ఇలాంటి కలవరపరుస్తున్న విషయాల దృష్ట్యా ఈరోజు మన సభ్యులందరికీ అవగాహన కల్పించడం కోసం ఈ సెమినారు ఏర్పాటు చేయటమైంది. అందరూ కూడా సెమినార్ వక్తలు చెప్పేది విని జాగ్రత్తగా వినాలి. విని అర్థం చేసుకొని మనము సాధ్యమైనంత వరకు ఈ రెరా అండ్ జిఎస్టీని ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్లో సక్సెస్ అవ్వాలని కోరుకుంటూ Now I request our State General Secretary Sudhakar Garu to say a few words.
Good morning, Adi. We అందరికీ తెలుసు the importance of RERA and how it is going to influence in the next coming future years లో అది vital role play చేయబోతోంది. So the series of seminars already మనం కండక్ట్ చేశాం. సో బేసిక్ అవుట్లైన్స్ అన్ని మనకు తెలిసినాయి, కానీ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్లో ఉన్న ఇబ్బందులు, హౌ టు గో అబౌట్ ఇట్, వాటి మీదే కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేయమని నేను ఐ రిక్వెస్టెడ్ మిస్టర్ వినీత్ దిస్ మార్నింగ్. సో మెయిన్ మనం ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోదాం అనేది యాక్ట్ అనేది వచ్చేసింది. దాని గురించి మనం ఉన్న ప్రొవిజన్స్ కంపల్సరీగా మనం ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయాలి. సో మీరు కూడా ఈ మెయిన్ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ ప్రాసెస్లోనే ఇది ఉపయోగపడుతుందని ఈ రెరా సెమినార్ పెట్టడం జరిగింది. సో మీరు కూడా ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ యూ గో త్రూ ఆల్ దిస్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ అండ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ కూడా టైం ఇచ్చాం. సో అది కూడా వారు క్లారిఫై చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సుధాకర్ గారు. నౌ ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ అవర్ స్టేట్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ శివారెడ్డి గారు టు సే ఫ్యూ వర్డ్స్.
So good morning everybody. I am very happy today. All state chapter presidents, secretaries and Vijayawada Cadre members be here to participate, conducted a good workshop to the builders community against RERA and GST. ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో భాగం పంచుకున్న క్రీడా విజయవాడ చాప్టర్ వారికి క్రీడా ఏపీ తరఫున బిల్డర్స్ కమ్యూనిటీ against RERA, ఇది మంచి కార్యక్రమం. ఇంతకుముందు మన కమ్యూనిటీ రేపు ఆగస్టు 1వ తారీఖు నుంచి ఏ బిగ్ గేమ్ చేంజ్ నేషనల్ వైజ్ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ ఆఫ్ రెగ్యులేటరీ అథారిటీ అండ్ జిఎస్టీ. జిఎస్టీ ఆల్రెడీ వచ్చేసింది, రెగ్యులేటరీ అథారిటీ రాబోతుంది. చాలా స్టేట్స్ రెగ్యులేట్ అథారిటీకి సంబంధించి ఇంకా రూల్స్ కూడా ఫ్రేమ్ చేయాలి. వీఆర్ ప్రౌడ్లీ సేయింగ్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ స్టేట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ క్రెడై ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ ఇనిషియేటివ్ తీసుకొని ఈ ఆన్ గోయింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ మీద రిప్రజెంట్ చేసి రూల్స్లో కంప్లీట్ స్లాబ్స్ స్ట్రక్చర్ కంప్లీట్ అయితే ఆన్ గోయింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్లో రిజిస్టర్ చేసుకోవాల్సిన పని లేదు. 50% ఆఫ్ సేల్ డీడ్స్ ఆర్ లీజ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసిన ఆన్ గోయింగ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్లో రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ చేసుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం లేదని ఒక అద్భుతమైన ఇది తీసుకొచ్చాం. ఇకపోతే ఈ నెలాఖరులోపు ప్రభుత్వం వారు కూడా వెబ్సైట్ని రూపొందించడానికి ఆల్రెడీ ఒక ప్రైవేట్ ఏజెన్సీకి అప్పచెప్పారు రెగ్యులేటర్ దానికి సంబంధించి. అలానే కాన్స్టిట్యూట్ చేస్తున్నారు ఒక కమిటీని కూడా, రెగ్యులేటర్ దానికి కమిటీని కూడా. 1వ తారీఖు నుంచి వీ మస్ట్ బి వెరీ కేర్ఫుల్. 500 స్క్వేర్ మీటర్స్ దాటిన ఎవరైనా సరే 8 నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ యూనిట్స్ మించి కడితే ఖచ్చితంగా రెగ్యులేటర్ అథారిటీలో రిజిస్టర్ చేయించుకోవాలి. డీటెయిల్స్ మన ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ వినీత్ గారు ఈరోజు ఇక్కడికి విచ్చేసి ఉన్నారు. అలానే ఆఫ్టర్ 2 hours ఇంకొక మంచి జిఎస్టీ మీద కూడా మనకు ఒక అవేర్నెస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఈరోజు ఇక్కడ ఏర్పాటు చేశారు. అందరూ ఈ అవకాశాన్ని సద్వినియోగపరుచుకొని మీలో ఎవరికైనా సరే ఏదైనా అనుమానాలున్నా సందేహాలున్నా అది చేసుకోవటానికి ఇక్కడ నిపుణుల కమిటీ ఉంది. ఈ అవకాశాన్ని అందరూ సద్వినియోగపరుచుకుంటారని ఆశిస్తూ, అలానే ఇలాంటి మన కమ్యూనిటీకి అవసరమైన మరెన్నో కార్యక్రమాలు క్రెడై చేస్తుంది, చేయబోతుందని భావిస్తూ థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ శివారెడ్డి గారు. ఈరోజు రెరా మీద మనకి అవగాహన కల్పించడానికి వచ్చిన వినీత్ గారు ఉన్నారు. వినీత్ గారి గురించి జనరల్ సెక్రటరీ రాజేంద్రని వినీత్ గారిని పరిచయం చేయమని కోరుతున్నాను.
Chartered Accountant Sri Mr. Vinit Venkatesh Dio is from Pune. He is Chairman and Managing Director of Positive Consulting Partners. Vinit is the founder and Chairman of Positive Consulting Partner, a real estate focused financial and management advisory company. A professionally qualified Chartered Accountant, Vinit started Positive after working with the Times of India Group and later with the listed IT services company Geometric Software Solutions Private Limited. At Positive, Vinit leads a team of 5 partners and 50 professionals across 4 divisions like Realty Funding Advisory, Project and Land Sales, RERA Advisory, Project Commercial Management. Vinit is also recognized as leading authority on Real Estate Regulatory Act, RERA. He has worked since the inception of RERA for representations on various issues to Joint Parliamentary Committee, Central and State Government Committees, etc. He is advising and supporting formulation and amendment of RERA rules in various states and resolving practical issues of developers and other stakeholders. Vinit is a regular contributor to media such as Property Times, Ajka Anand, Money Control, etc. on issues related to real estate industry. He actively shares his knowledge through various media and leading industry bodies such as MCCIA, CREDAI, ICAI, etc. This is a short introduction of Vinit.
Now, వినీత్ గారు he will take over the further session. I request Vinit to take over, please.
So the first one, it's called, there are three there, right? No, just say escape. Honorable President and Managing Committee members of CREDAI, AP CREDAI, Vijayawada on the dais, honorable members, Subodayam. You will have to forgive me if I cannot speak any more Telugu beyond this. But what we'll try to do is a combination of English, Hindi, okay, and I think what we did, I think English should be perfectly fine, right? English is perfectly fine, right? I think as far as RERA is concerned, although across the country there's a degree of, to an extent, yeah, there's a present called ready reference that you get. There's a present which starts with planning and another which starts, yeah, the other one. You can keep this open, I want the other one. Yeah. So I was saying, although there's a degree of fear to an extent, some uncertainty, etc. I think here we don't have to worry because we are coming from the land of Bahubali. Nothing is impossible as far as all of us are concerned. On the way I was speaking, and I think apart from the incredible hospitality of the entire committee, Mr. Jawar, right from the time I was invited and so on, it's been a wonderful experience, all the way here. And I think if one were to talk about the business or entrepreneurial spirit, I was just telling the honorable members here that, if you people can create something like this, the professional quality magazine, I have now spoken at more than 20-25 cities, chapters. I have not seen anything like this, sir, I can say with certainty. There's a degree of some newsletters and so on. And even in small matters, it's a very attractive pen. Correct? Back, so this is very nice. I think branding wise, marketing wise, I don't think koi aapka haath dhar sakta hai in terms of the entire, the way, what do you say, and right from your honorable CM, who was known as a IT man way back when, there was no IT industry, created an image for India. The reason for this is not because I'm the stage and just to give respect for the sake of giving respect, but I really mean it from the heart, because sometimes many of the things that we ourselves are doing in personal life or even in here, they seem very normal for us. Here you will see, I've done this, I keep on doing it and so on. But they can be extraordinary, and sometimes a third person, pointing it out, saying, this is something which is very different, which is, which can set you apart, can help. And the context in which I am saying is especially when a legislation like RERA comes, okay, or any legislation comes, be it GST, be it RERA, it becomes a game changer. And we are also going to look at some of those aspects, because fortunately I've been working on it, as you said, since the time this came in. In UPA regime, this act was different, then it changed, and so on. I'll give you one personal example about less than a minute. When I started practice, or consulting, whatever you call it, I worked a couple of years with Times, tried my hand 6-8 months with practice, did not like the traditional practice of audit tax. I thought it was more like a post-mortem, wanted to do something which was more proactive, more closer to business, so that I can work with business people like you. And in 2001, this new act which had come in, sir, called as FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, replacing FERA. So I thought that that's an interesting opportunity where a chartered accountant or a professional who knows RERA, which was 1973 Act, and a new Act coming in, both of us suddenly come at the same level. Correct? Because he also has to study, I also have to study. If I have to compete in income tax, somebody with a 40 years experience and me are vastly different. If I have to compete under a new regime, then not only it's the same starting line, correct? The starting line is being redrawn, but perhaps I might have a better advantage because I am studying afresh. I don't have legacy of the past. I have maybe latest knowledge, learnt it and so on. So I think many times, and I think that was a starting point of studying FEMA, studying these FDI regulations and so on, and that's how I got into the core of the financing industry. We'll talk a couple of aspects on finance as well, which is the principal practice that we do. And so when this RERA came in, or started coming in, we were already 6-7 years as a firm working in this industry, raising money for developers. So on an annualized basis, we are raising about 1,000 odd crores for developers. Realized the problems that RERA would cause and started speaking about it. Like the 2001, this was 2013-14. And then started representing to the local chapter, then Kradai Pune, Kradai Maharashtra and Kradai National. That is how the journey has been. What we are going to do today, so the short message is RERA becomes a big game changer. Lines get read on. You can rethink your business plans. I will touch upon each of these points on how this small thing is going to matter. As only a small glimpse I can tell you. For example, when you buy a car, correct, and it comes with a certain warranty, correct, you know that you don't have to worry about basic kind of that something happening to the car. Also, if you want to resell it in 2-3 years, you don't have to worry because you will find a buyer that warranty continues because you don't know about the engine. You don't know, what will go wrong. The same thing. So you are not asking those questions. So the sales cycle of the car's manufacturer is lower. You go, you select, you look at a brand, you look at, you don't look at all 10 cars. You will select 2-3, select one and that's it. And you will not ask basic questions. Correct? Same thing, for example, is going to happen with this defect liability clause. Now every home comes with a 5-year defect liability. Maybe, yes, it's a slight cost to us, and it will not even be a big cost if you really calculate how many of you has spent how much money really on rectifying defects. All of us as Kradai members adhere to certain code of conduct and so on. I will not like to speak about a generic industry, but we are all talking here as organized developers. As organized people, I will bet that if you look at last 5 years, correct, the number may not cross 40-50 lakh rupees, maybe few lakhs of rupees, and certainly not more than like a crore, so I think is out of question. So annually, in defect repairs, free of cost, whatever you do, number-wise, it will not be a large number. If you've done good, great work, then that number will be negligible or zero in many cases, correct? But a kind of goodwill it will generate by saying 5-year guaranteed homes, 5-year guaranteed. If you keep on saying that, and just to conclude this example, because then we are going to talk about all kinds of practical issues. Practical issues also include how to take benefit of RERA and how are people actually taking benefit of RERA. A client of ours in Pune taking benefit of this provision because now they said that 5-year. He is offering, there are two of them. One is offering 7-year guarantee, somebody is offering 10-year guarantee. Correct? Saying, not for everything of course, but then he put some clauses. He's saying it's steel and cement at the end of the day. So if something can last 5 years, it can last 10 years. Either it will go bad in 2 years because 60-70% of what you do just can't go wrong. It's steel, cement. You are working with the best material. Correct? And all of this is like branded products. What can go wrong? Correct? So it's interesting when the consumer comes, he says, sir, wo RERA hai and 5 saal dena. He says, look, it's 1 year more. That it offers some significance. So I think this is the way people have also started using RERA. Just as a latest example. The second guy has put a small team, one carpenter, one labor, etc. Just 2-3 member team all together. Monthly cost might not be more than 30,000-40,000 rupees if you apportion. And they have given the task that a phone call comes, directly it goes to from the EA. That phone call has to be attended within 1 hour. Like the way, you have these Uber cars and Ola, what is that? It's the same model. This team within 24 hours, and if possible, for many problems within 3 hours, 4 hours, all that they have to do is, they have to show up. Many times the customer probably is just an irritation. He also knows that, there are problems. It will not be a perfect kind of thing because we are not working on manufacturing kind of setup. We are working in a labor setup, correct? So he also knows, he sympathizes. All he needs is somebody to address him. These people will go there, understand. If it's possible, they will rectify or they'll get material. That's it. That's build goodwill as well. Customers done word of mouth publicity that somebody came within a few hours, repaired it, went, or maybe gave a solution. That is, this will be so much. Maybe even gave a solution saying, look, part of it is my problem. Part of it that leakage is because you fit an AC and drill a hole in the wall. And that's why this is coming, you did wrong. Same a car manufacturer does, right? If you happen to touch the engine and you go to an unauthorized service center, your warranty is void. So practically also you want to see that even when there's a draft agreement, nothing stops us, for example, from putting some of these clauses where this agreement is subject to so many things. If I'm giving a lift, which is a Kone lift or whatever, I should mention it in the society agreement. It must be maintained by a Kone authorized representative. Why should I be responsible otherwise if some local guy is doing it? Correct? So some of those things we'll have to start doing as we go along. And last point, I took this one example to illustrate how the act is, how we have to start thinking afresh that this is the act. It's going to cast some responsibilities. How do I turn it around, make it an advantage? How do I turn it around, look from the consumer angle and say, look, this is the way they might look at it, so let me be one step ahead and actually make use of it from the business angle. What we'll do as a structure of the presentation, we'll quickly go through not more than 20-25 minutes because multiple sessions have been done on the act itself. But I will not spend more than 20 because there will be some who would not have read completely. Some would have read completely, just bear with me for those provisions. But even when I'm speaking the provision, we'll just try and cover some of these practical aspects. So the 7-8 crux provisions of RERA, there are 92 sections. Correct? By Indian standards, a very simple act. We are used to acts of 300, 400 sections like Income Tax Act. So less than 3-digit number in terms of sections is a very simple act for us. Even that, honestly speaking, I am not an advocate, I am a chartered accountant. But as developers also, if you decide to read that, and many of you would have, it's a very simple business act. It's not a complex act like a civil procedure code, criminal procedure code, where a lot of linkages, one section links to the other links to the third, there are circulars, clarification. There's nothing of that sort. It's plain, vanilla, simple language. Correct? So let's all be at ease from that perspective. The only problem with this act, and let me also say that, is unfortunately, because this was done at a central level, and sir mentioned the structure, central government technically, over the last 70 years, does not know anything about real estate industry. It was always a state subject. Correct? So the local bureaucrats are well aware of the issues. Problem 2 is that the real estate laws and land laws are different not from state to state, also from city to city. So Vijayawada County Corporation versus Hyderabad versus Visakhapatnam, all will be different. Now you have one overall act, correct? So it is like, I always like to use example that what you have tried to do if, for example, Vinit Dev has got up early in the morning, he has to go, he has forgotten there is a function, he decides that what I need to do is just put on a coat, go and I look smart. What I mean is on the entire real estate industry across the country, they have just put up this code of RERA. And irrespective of whether you are a developer doing 2 buildings and 20 units, or whether you are doing a 100-acre township, all have to wear the same coat. Correct? And that is where the problems implementing start. Kisi ko tight ho raha hai, kisi ko loose ho raha hai, that's where we start looking at provisions. They start failing and we start getting a problem, and that's a genuine problem. Because they have not, see, a complex act is okay. Income tax is a complex act, but you precisely know, 98% you know what is what, and what is income, and what is liability, what is expense. The problem here is many things have not been thought of. They have simply not been thought of. Correct? So ongoing projects problem is one of them, and hence we don't know what view to take. And we'll try to take as many practical views today as possible. So I think just to start, next. Okay, let's understand the structure. You can look at me. I think all these presentations I will request them to be emailed. That will be simplest to go. The font may not reach the back. Just look at me because I can cover everything. Okay. So number 1, let's quickly understand the structure. Unique act in the history of India. One of the unique acts. Act passed by central government. Rules made by state government. Central government has no power over rules. Zero power over rules. State government, also the legislature does not have any power. the ministry concerned has to make rules. In fact, there is no provision in the Act even for taking public comments. They publish it and that's the rule. Then the state government appoints authority. Authority makes regulations. So you have got three sets of things coming up: Act, rules and regulations. And they are technically not connected. That central government has given power to state, state appoints authority and I know gives power to authority. Technically rules should cover, okay, let's forget rules, I'll come to regulation. Regulations still have not come in any of the state except Maharashtra, the state I come from. From that example I can tell you that what will come in the regulations when this authority starts working is procedural matters. How will the appeal be admitted? How will they work on the application form? Right from nominal matters, right from office timings etc. to critical matters like formats. कि वो certificate का format, chartered accountant certificate, engineering certificate, who should be chartered accountant. So in Maharashtra they have said that the CA certificate which all of us know should be taken should not be taken from your statutory auditor. It should be taken from independent CA. And there's a year-end audit which has to be done. That has to be done by statutory auditor. So the authority has taken this view. It's not there in the rules. It's not there in the Act. They have said that regulations, this is the way it should function, for example. And they have given formats. So regulations have not come in any state, they will come. I said let's park rules, and since your rules are already in place, I still feel it's a lot of work in progress. We are going to talk on rules, and we'll also talk from some of these aspects where what is there, what more can come perhaps. Unfortunately, what's happened in case of rules is state governments were supposed to make rules from scratch, looking at the local conditions, looking at your local apartment laws, looking at building bylaws and so on. Unfortunately, because in between the entire media controversy in the sense that where consumers and so on stepped in, central government had issued something called as rules for union territories. Those were not model rules. You need to know this because, I don't know when we'll meet again, but if you understand this, you'll understand how the rules might end up changing and what views government and authorities might end up taking. So central government is the nodal government for union territories because they don't have a legislature. So who will make rules for them? Central government. What are the union territories? Apart from Chandigarh, there is no real estate business in any union territory. Daman, Diu, Andamans, Lakshadweep, there's no realty business there. So they made realty rules which are very basic rules for union territories and they published them. We have given comments and in fact fortunately those rules also underwent a change. For example, central rules original version had submission of income tax return which is there in your state rules now. In the final central rules, we had opposed, I was personally a part of that representation where we said income tax return is not even a part of the RTI Act. So why are you doing it? So they understood. So about 6 or 7 suggestions given by us were indeed taken. Unfortunately, by that time, some states who were proactive, yours was one of them, it was a very proactive state, strong bureaucracy, strong political government. So many states don't have rules even right now. So those states, at least as the thought process was concerned, started looking at those rules because there was a guidance given by the central government. After we gave recommendations, central governments would change. Unfortunately, some provisions in the state rules, including this state, refer to the old draft rules, which were eventually changed. Yes. So I think that's something which may need to be tackled from a context angle. Now we have a situation where every state is making rules, etc. Last bit is the tragedy in this whole thing is under a section state government had full power to make rules. Media started saying that state government are changing rules and diluting rules, which was a tragedy because state government was never supposed to look at those rules. They were supposed to start writing from scratch and make their absolutely independent rules, independent to your state, because at some places the conveyance happens today. In for example, Karnataka, agreement and registration happens at the time of possession. In Maharashtra, it happens at the time of the sale itself. Correct? So stamp duty is paid at different points of time, so they should have made different rules. Now, that's the issue. So anyway, so that's the structure of the Act, rules, regulations. If you're studying it and tracking it, you have to track 3 things, and your regulator will keep on issuing circulars, clarifying certain matters, and this is the way going forward. You have to read the Act and read the EA. At a practical level, regulators and state governments have started taking practical views, and although it's not fully constitutional in a sense, but some states are actually crossing the limits set by the Act itself, which is technically not right because rules cannot be over the Act, but that's something which is started because it's simply not practical to implement. Okay. So, Act, let's look at, as I said, just about 5-6 key points in the Act. And I will look at these 5 points from your angle. As a developer, what do you do? Correct? Number 1, you take registration. Forget the sections the way they are structured in the Act. Just look at me. You will go and take registration. Okay, you will take sanctions, you will take registration. Number 2, you will start your booking and sale. After that, you will start construction, or maybe first construction, then sale, first sale, whatever. So booking, then construction, then if applicable, you will take some project finance. While construction, you may have some degree of change in plans or extension of the plan, bigger plan, whatever that is. So that's the next thing that will happen. Then post that, you will have completion, that is possession, conveyance. That's your broad process. Okay, these 4-5 steps complete the entire activity of real estate industry. Let us look at RERA from that angle. Sir, please free to intervene. Any of you, if you, for example, want to add or whatever, as I am speaking. And in the next 5-10 minutes, if you want to also add, ask questions on that particular point, please feel free. We can keep it like a workshop, like interaction, and then we can keep on covering. Also, we'll keep on covering related aspects as they come, because a lot of case studies, a lot of questions have been asked earlier also. We'll keep on tracking. So let's finish on the registration part first. I am going to cover technically rules separately. So I just cover the key points in the rules separately. So I'll not get into the ongoing projects, exemption, etc. right now. Let's presume that we have to register. Correct? All of us know 3 exemptions given in the Act itself. Area up to 500 square meters and up to 8 apartments in a project. No need to register. Occupation or completion certificate up to 30th April. No need to register. Then of course, you have your own state rules which have given 4 exceptions, and I will only cover that part, not the other part of the rules right now. Your 4 exceptions that you already know, where all slabs completed, and this is a rare privilege given us, sir. I think this is a great achievement that I think you have been able to get in this state, that I have not seen this in any other state, where this kind of a thing. Some of the parts are there. So for example, where roads, open spaces, amenities, etc. have been handed over to local authority, you are exempt. Slabs complete, you are exempt. Development works completed, application made for OC, I think that's also a rarity. Your application has been made, also you are exempt. Because others, at a practical level, we are struggling. Many people tried an application in February, March, April. Now they are getting completion. But virtually, when you apply for completion, logically the project is over. And you should not be under RERA, because technically you get the OC or CC from at the time you applied, because your architect is already certified. And for stupid reason, you have to go and apply and say that everything is complete and bear the cost and so on. That is the situation arising in 15-20 states. But here, if you have applied also, then you are out of RERA. And where you've sold or leased 50% of the apartments, you are also out of RERA. Practically speaking, this is the right way of doing it, although we should not feel anything bad about it, and you should know it, because many times media is saying that this has been diluted. We need to know that ongoing projects are not defined in the Act. Whatever is not defined in the Act can be defined in the rules, and it's a smart way of doing it. First, that's the legal answer. At a practical level, let us understand that in the first place, ongoing projects should not have been covered. Correct? And for those of you who are interested, there's a statement by Honorable Union Minister on the floor of the House, 15th of March, and I've read all the proceedings of the House as well, saying that I do not know, and this is the actual statement, why in their wisdom the committee which made RERA included ongoing projects. And then he said, and because he understood there are problems, Kadai also strongly represented, he said that ongoing projects will not stop, we will only ask them to submit details and nothing more, etc., etc. Unfortunately in the rules, so that was the real intent. So I think we should not feel bad about this thing coming, because sometimes they say that, oh, developers, they have diluted, etc. Nothing of that sort. You have every right to do this. And the commercial reason is, see, we are not selling cars. When GST comes in, whatever, as I said, many things were forgotten when this was drafted. If you have a product, you can have a cut-off. 31st of July, inside the factory, outside the factory. Correct? Inside the factory, new rate, outside the factory, old rate, whatever that is. In reality now, look at what's happening. Ongoing project, 100 units in one building, for example, 30 units sold, different law will be applicable. And 70 units sold, different law will be applicable. Very illogical. So, why? Because of the artificial cutoff, the whole project came under RERA. See, imagine if you have to make a car under two rules, and suddenly they say, no, tire ka size and safety features and so on, etc. In between manufacturing, you can't do anything. Correct? So when the norms come in, BS3, BS4, etc., they have a cutoff, and manufacturers stop that and they make new ones. Now this is like a new BS4 norm coming in an old car. You can't do that. You can't change engine in between. What I mean is, if you have got this defect liability clause, when you build the project, you never build in this cost. From now on, you will start budgeting the 5 rupees, 10 rupees per square feet. You will say this is more. You never thought conveyance will be like this. You never thought carpet area will be like this. Now look at the situation where half the units I have sold on stable area. Suddenly overnight the rate changes. Now with carpet area definition, you'll at least on paper have a 30-40. I mean, when people start dividing the the rate cost by the carpet area, they will feel that a 5,000 rupee unit is a 8,000 rupee unit. So that's the issue which will end up coming. But of course, we can also state the super built up area. I think all of us know that by now, all of us will cover it. So, ongoing projects, we are absolutely on the right track. I think we are lucky to be in a state. I think thanks are not sufficient for the local, state chapter, because 80% states, sir, have failed this battle. Because state governments are simply not listening. And for example, in UP, which was the first state to do it, the moment the government changed, in fact, I was there taking a session, the day we finished the session, we came out and the same day the CM announced that he's met A and then the rules, the ongoing exemption might go.
So far, so many states have not found the rules.
Yeah, that's a different issue altogether. I mean, many states, so right now, out of 29 states, 6 union territories, I think the number is about 17 or 18. None of the northeastern states, big state like West Bengal is still out. Haryana, where Haryana is out. Punjab I think I did a session last week, so just 2 days back the rules had come.
Tamil Nadu, Karnataka also.
Karnataka just about came. I think Tamil Nadu still not come, if I'm not wrong. No? The final rules have not come. So even big states.
Telangana also.
Telangana. So actually, day before I was at Warangal, sir. So I had to talk. So I was generally checking what's the possibility that, for example, AP rules, because you're just neighbors, will get copied. So I don't think they were sure that. Rather, they said that very unlikely that AP rules will come. They might follow the central rules is the broad idea which was given. So anyway, so that's about ongoing projects. Now let's cover some practical aspects of ongoing projects. Number one, some units sold. So now let's presume that whatever, unfortunately, despite a broad definition, you still come under ongoing project. Correct? So you have less than 50% sold, these are not handed or your ongoing project now. Then what happens? Challenge number one, you have got old agreements, you have got units which are sold up to 30th April. Your units which are, so let's start with basics. You have got units booked till 30th April, agreements not registered. Are the agreements to be done under RERA or they are done under new act? My view is since RERA became applicable from 1st of May, correct? Technically, the agreements which are registered after 1st of May, because you're making an agreement then. And if you are making an agreement in the regime of a new act, all the booking is there, money is received, agreement should be in new format. Money received earlier, but the agreement not done. Now let's look at case 2. Agreements done before 30th April, whether they will still come under jurisdiction of RERA, because RERA doesn't give any exemption for old agreements. Let us understand, RERA is applicable to the project completely. It's not applicable to units. So once it's applicable to the project, all units, all apartments, all plots in the project come under RERA. So now you sold 30 units earlier. Now you are selling 70. And if there's a contrary opinion, either told by your advocate or etc., let's hear it, because I think we are still evolving, because none of this is in the act. There are no circulars. So I am generally talking about the consensus view which is emerging among advocates, among authorities and so on. So if the agreement is done prior to 30th April and you are under RERA, what will happen? Again, my view is, and their state regulators is that technically RERA is not applicable retrospectively. If an agreement is to take action, so the practical problem is if there is a delay in the project and your old agreement has certain clauses and RERA has certain clauses, correct? Now can you take the stand that my agreement is before 30th April, so you can proceed against me, but under the old Apartment Act or civil law and not under RERA. It's a 50-50% argument, because in the first instance, every RERA authority will try to say that, look, RERA is applicable, your project number is there, so I will entertain a complaint from this person, although the agreement is old. Objective of a session like this is for thought, if you have to argue the case, and that is that RERA is not, or no act should be applicable retrospectively. So when I did the agreement, a different act was applicable, and I did the agreement, both of us, when see, there is law and there is custom and there is a practice, for example, correct? Law doesn't exist in isolation. So when both of us entered into agreement, what was there in our mind? We did not know when the RERA was going to come. What was applicable? In our mind was this act. We thought of this act, did this agreement, and willingly did this agreement. This agreement does not have clauses, and I am sure they will not have clauses, which are succession clauses, which will say that tomorrow if act changes, you will be under that act, and I think nothing of that sort will be the agreement. So we believe that this act and the old act will stay, and we were both happy. So I think the old agreements, parallel clause, etc., I think that's what we need to do. Now, let's look at a connected point. Across India, last 2 years have been bad. Projects have got delayed. Even good developers, it's a very practical problem. This thing comes once in 5 years, 10 years. We all seen these cycles coming in. Now look what will happen. Project is delayed. Under RERA, you have to apply for registration, and you have to give completion date of the project. Let's understand this concept, because till date, to my knowledge, no developer has given completion date in the agreement. Correct? What you write in the agreement is your possession date, which is post occupancy certificate. You are giving the possession of the flat. There was no need for writing the completion date of the project. Completion date means when you have finished all amenities and you have finished everything that you have mentioned in the agreement. आपने अगर swimming pool का है, you said whatever, that completion, and we never said that. RERA in fact is not asking you for possession date when you file a registration application. They are asking completion date. Now old agreements, technically speaking, your consumers will say possession date, for example, is the completion date. Although the completion date is might be a later date also, but because nothing is mentioned, and your possession date then might be this August, this September, this October, what do you do? Correct? So I think there are two things that we should do. Okay, before I say this, one angle please keep in mind. All of us will have to act like activists, like in this case, for example, while making rules, the Credit chapter would have, been very, very active, gone there, represented, etc. And, pushed back, saying this is the way we want things, and got to the extent possible. At an individual level, correct? I don't mean to say that, we are unnecessarily fighting and so on. What I mean by an activist is, RERA is a broad act. In the next 2 years, it will actually take shape. Correct? It is in your hands as to what you write in the agreements, what you collectively decide, at what shape it will take and what will become common practice. Simple example, if only one of you had been, for example, charging on super built up area, no consumer would have listened. Correct? Although it is logically right to charge super built up area, because you are also giving apart from the flat so many things. So over last 20 years, because there was association and all of you decided that the basis is super built up, the percentage of loading is so much that consumers don't question you. If only one or few do it, they will say, just measure the flat and sell it to me. Why should I pay you more? But it was not more. You are actually charging for terraces, amenities and so on. It's an approximate number you are charging. Purpose of the example is, similar way, under RERA, you will need to define some common stands, common practices, so that it gets accepted by consumer and by the authority. So, when you are writing completion date in the registration form, please write the fresh completion date. Whatever completion date from today, at the worst your authority will say, look, what will happen to the old flats, your consumer will say, that fight will do later. But right now, starting from today, if you are going to take 24 months, please write 24 months. Even if your actual possession date was 1 month or 2 months, even from today, or maybe actual possession date has gone, correct? Still write the fresh date. Then we will see what happens, correct? Number 2, please upload when you're doing this, the revised plans. So your plans might have undergone, whatever is the latest plan is what we'll give when we are, for example, registering. Anyway, so ongoing projects, registration, we covered these 2-3 points. What happens to old agreements, what happens to your date, what happens to your plans, and even when you are putting up revised plans, please ensure कि आपके पास you might have plans which are ready right now and which might undergo some change. तो अभी 2 building का plan है, it might become there might be changes in the buildings etc. Please, now it's too late to make actual changes and so on. But if it is possible, many times you want to make changes elevation, sizes of flat etc. To invert that plan before 31st July. Whatever is the final plan that you want to build, at least invert. If not invert, at least get it from the architect. So that while you are disclosing to the authority, you will say this is my sanctioned plan. Correct? And this is the plan as per which I am proposing to build. At least that disclosure will happen, because if you want to do this later, then I think there is one rule which all of us now know by heart. Okay, you need consent of 2/3 people who have bought flats from you to make any change in the plan. Correct? So right now, as I am saying, what is the worst that the authority will say? Your second plan that you are giving me right now, as per which you propose to build, is not sanctioned. It is a proposed plan, etc. To which we will have to say there is a sanctioned plan. I am disclosing, I am attaching maybe both the plans or maybe the second plan to my agreement. Please accept this, and my buyer is accepting this, because see, let us understand. A buyer will come to you and be ready to sign only when he is okay with the revised plan. So buyer is always going to be okay. Otherwise he will say, I don't want to buy. Correct? It's that simple. He's not buying a bungalow, he's buying an apartment. So he's already made up his mind what he's buying. So he's already okay. Question is of the authority, and you don't want to because there's a law. So there you don't want to get trapped. So you say that, look, this is my new plan which is going to come up. That is how we are actually filing in rest of the country. We are also filing the proposed plans. So registration. The other thing which is critical in registration is phasing. Correct? We'll just park that issue and finish off the other 4 or 5 main points that I said, and then come to the even technical points. So that the broad act will finish off in the next now 10-12 minutes. So now we finished registration. While registration, please remember that the plan has to be sanctioned. Now again, there are authorities generally in 3-4 states that we have interacted with are taking the view that all plan may not be sanctioned. So you have 3 buildings. One building is sanctioned. So there is a layout sanction, there is a building sanction. As long as at least one building is sanctioned, they are letting you register the entire, if your project is like 4 building project, they are taking that on record saying 4 buildings okay. It might be that there are 2, it's a 2 building project, 1 building fully sanctioned, 2nd building half sanctioned. Still while registering, authorities are taking the view that okay, you disclose to me that these are 2 buildings, 15 storied each. Okay, although sanctioning is like 7 story, later on you might buy some more FSI, may get some reservation, TDR, whatever that is, correct? So that's here of course that's a lesser issue because you have a different system, right? The FSI comes attached to the plot itself, is what I read. So anyway, next starts your booking and sales. Remember, do not do any kind of advertisement, again something that you already know, before you get registration number of the project. So even when you apply for registration, which is after sanctions, wait, within a month you will get registration, or within month and 7 days deemed registration, which is compulsory for them to give that registration. When you get a number, before you get that number, please do not advertise in any manner. No WhatsApp messages, no your agent texting saying upcoming project and so on and so forth. And I will tell you some typical mistakes which might happen. Number one, we many times give a big ad. Under the big ad we write upcoming projects. That's an ad of the smaller project, for example, of the smaller thing that you're doing, our other projects. Second, you participate in exhibitions, you make standees, and that's a standard, you keep on printing it. So pre-RERA you might have done some design etc, which can change now, because some of those projects might be old, some of the designs might be old, so relook at all of that. Third is the models that you keep in office. Correct? So you have these scale models that many of you keep at the site or office. That also is an advertisement. Your 3D simulation is an advertisement. Correct? So all of these are advertisements. Your old brochures are advertisement. We have advised that if it's, those old brochures, we should call back, because they will maybe have super built up area. They may have certain things which are technically not there. I am not saying that you are promising and not giving, but there could be issues where you have shown a green area on the side and there's actually a nala on the side. But that's an artist impression that you have given. So the brochure, like a car and so on, is an artist impression. But now RERA is very, very strict about this. They are saying you must deliver what you've promised. Correct? There's no two ways about it. And you must advertise what you have registered. So for example, you have a layout, 10 buildings, and you right now showing the whole layout, and you want to register only 2 buildings, which RERA allows you. Your brochure should be of 2 buildings. Till such a time that advertisement rules get clarified at how do you show the balance 8, you're not supposed to show the balance 8, and authority is very clear on that. Although, because they are saying very simply that you might think that it's a 10 building project, after 2 buildings, if you change your mind, you don't want to do it, you want to sell the land, can you do it? Yes, you can. But under RERA, I have bought it presuming that I am staying in a township. Suppose that project is 10 kilometers from here, 15 kilometers from here, and I bought it saying it's a secure project, 500 families will say, my thinking. I did the thinking looking at your plans, and now suddenly you change your plans, which you can if you are not registered. Correct? So it is very clear that if you register 2 buildings, if you register 4 buildings, then you should advertise 4 buildings. Of course, then people are asking, can I show the other buildings in grey, in transparent, in whatever? That's a very risky thing to do. Please don't do it. Correct? Because any kind of representation, and it is not new. Let's take a pause and understand. See, many times what happens, that an industry, and we do respect all of you, we sometimes feel that, government, law is being unfair to us. Correct? They are putting all of these rules, regulations, etc. If you just look at other industries, you will understand that rules, even after, are 10 times tougher than RERA. Some of you might have exposure to pharma industry. How strictly is it regulated? Correct? Look at car industry. Aapka agar, for example, some defect, and a car company recalls 5 and 10,000 cars, recalls. Aapne to abhi aise nahi, you don't have to give a new home, na? You just have to repair that leaky tap somewhere. Correct? But car company says that you please buy the car, I will replace the component and I will give it back to you. Look at what happens to pharma. Penalties are very heavy. My point is that as an industry, if you want to take benefits of RERA, the very definition of industry means that it's regulated. From gate to gate it's regulated. Basically, from the time material comes in to the time the unit goes out and later it's regulated. So that's what we are still, by overall standard, still light regulation. So I was saying from the advertisement rules perspective, yes, maybe tomorrow there will be clarity. We are also fighting for clarity that especially 5 and 10 building project is okay. Some of us will have 100-acre projects, 50-acre projects. Now the whole fun of the project is that 50-acre, 20-acre, etc. That gated community, township feeling. Now law allows me to just register one sector, cluster, whatever you call it. But I cannot advertise because then I have to advertise the whole township. And our advertisement itself sometimes is 50-acre township. 100 so that you can't write that word, no? Because how can you write 50-acre township? That's wrong advertisement unless you have registered 50-acre township. So right from the branding, publicity, all of this will change. So I was saying, advertisement, no advertisement in any form, and I was telling you the other forms of advertisement, including press releases, press statements, press conferences. Sometimes you will say, I'm starting this project and so on and so forth. Don't do it. Please take care. I was saying from the recall angle, that if there are old brochures floating around, irrespective of the cost, there may be a few hundred of them. If possible, please try and recall them. See, if Mr. Modi can recall 15 lakh crore worth of notes, I think all of us can recall 1500 brochures. Correct? Because the penalty can be heavy. So please try and do that. Correct? At the worst, if you want to save, you can always put some stickers or whatever that is. Correct? But it's a big risk to take. Please write to your agents. See, because now we have to plan for transition. This is something which the Act has said. And we have to plan from the angle of the worst. They say plan for the worst, hope for the best. So let's hope none of this happens, but at least when our actions show that I have written to my agents, well, I can't recall every brochure, I don't know where it's floating, but I will write to my agents saying, and I will write to my people saying, look boss, this is an old brochure, I am issuing new ones. If there is any brochure pending on 30th April, that is now void. Tomorrow you can show that letter to the authority saying, look, I took care. I can't go and search in every drawer of every agent, but I have taken care. He's done whatever he has done. Correct? So those cares will save us later. Ultimately is what I am saying. Documentation care is what will save us. Okay, now also sample flats in advertisement. And that's where we might end up making a mistake. Because take too care of sample flats, keep it locked. You might say, kya bol raha hai? Because for example, many times you will build a sample flat first, keep it ready. Parallel your registration is going on, somebody comes and clicks pictures. Technically, who's going to, point out, prove, saying, aapne advertisement kiya, backdoor se dikha, who's going to? So unless you get registration, that sample flat is not to be opened for anybody. There's a security and you. Please take that care. Second part of sample flat is, again, there will be kitchen trolleys, false ceilings, whatever that is, correct? And then your salesperson says, sir, ye included, ye excluded. I think a big risk to take. Ideally, you should have a disclaimer bahar, when he enters. As an example, however critical might be the patient, the doctor will take signing saying, I am responsible, kitna bhi ho mareez. Doctor will take a sign before you enter the operation theatre, saying all is your responsibility. Why can't we do that for a flat? That inside everything is representative. Correct? Take it on the same register where you sign, you are safe that, some salesperson forgetting to tell something, the consequence on RERA that you have to pay that penalty, pay compensation. Because some consumer says, I thought 50 lakh rupees included false ceiling, included your trolleys. And 2 lakh rupees, and if he's got pictures, and if your brochure is silent, then you have no choice, you have a very weak case then. Of course, you can still fight, but the idea of this whole chat today and generally is to avoid fights. Correct? So, these precautions, you can keep on thinking. The idea is to put thoughts in your mind so that you rethink the process. How do I brand? How do I sell? What precautions I can take? So, you can think more, you can discuss more, how do you change the process. But you think of it this way. Now you are a promoter, you have a team. Won't your life be so simple and easy that you don't have a customer complaint of somebody saying, sir, somebody said so much. You can be peaceful. Tomorrow, even when you have 20 salespeople, standardized, they are going to talk the same language, like a call center. And if you see the world's biggest industries, they are all standardized industries. Banks. Every bank has the same policy. Every evening when they go, if the cash is not tallied, the people do not go home. My father was a banker, he was a cashier. I know, the cash is not tallied, they don't come home. If the cash doesn't tally at all, then the cashier and the manager have to put that cash from their pocket and they have to close the account. That's the only system which works in banks. Because they are very strict, is when a chairman sitting in Bombay or Delhi or US, wherever, can manage 1 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh crores. Because he knows that everywhere, in every single branch, the 20 branches in Vijayawada all follow the same practice. There's no worry. Correct? So same thing when it happens to us, very standardized. There'll be, when you are talking of defects, when you're talking of better, you will end up talking of better quality. I was reading your magazine, sir, that very nice article by sir on terms of defects, so I think it's something like that, a discussion will start somewhere. We have never had this, I'm not saying we did not have a discussion, but in India, of course, with due respect to all of us, unless something is made compulsory, we don't do it. So now this is compulsory and we have to do it, so we'll now think more of better quality and defects and so on. So that's on booking and advertisement, your step number 2. Step 3, construction. So before construction, let's look at that planning wala point, which is the biggest point right now hitting us is the 2/3 consent ka point, correct? So number 1, planning. First thing is, please ensure that your architect has read RERA, correct? And your ad person has read RERA. Or maybe even from Kadai angle it may be worthwhile to just generally tell them, it's because you are a project manager, correct? Those people have to know and think from that angle. And this is important because when he's giving you a plan, correct, sir, let us do it this way, correct? And now you have to go and register the project. That's where you will start facing challenges. Simple thing would be, I am designing as an architect a 20 building plan, correct? RERA allows phases. Normal buildings are okay. Planning amenities we have to do carefully now. Because now, the first flat I sold in the first building, and if I have got these 100 amenities, swimming pool, butterfly park, A, B, C, D, whatever that is, correct? Am I not going to write in every agreement all those amenities? I'm going to write those amenities because I'm selling based on that. Now, if they are not planned carefully and integrated with the project, you are going to have a situation where, for example, you would have set a jogging track, correct, around all the buildings. Around the entire project. For example, nice jogging track, you will have space. Now, if you have got buildings to construct, balanced buildings to construct, you will never build a jogging track till the last building is done, otherwise all those trucks etc. will destroy the jogging track. That's simple, right? Now, 20 building project will take 12 years, which means you will not build the jogging track in 12 years, which means your project is not complete till 12 years. So, when you are planning the project, you may have to either sacrifice some of those things and start planning practically that, okay, I will just do this, but I'm out of the project in 5 years. Correct? So your architect ought to know what are the consequences of the planning. Your structural engineer has to know, because you start planning, architect has given a drawing, you start working, then you have these minor alterations and so on and so forth, or elevation change, etc., which will not be allowed. Please remember, see, whatever be the act, generally what happens, the way it gets implemented, especially in a developing country like ours, correct, is the most visible aspects of the act will be the one which will get implemented first. Hence we are talking more on advertisement. Hence we are talking more on third consent. Because the moment you try to change elevation, correct, external balconies, full glass versus part glass and part railing, see, the consumer will not understand 92 sections. From WhatsApp you only know change hai to mera consent chahiye. Now, usme who's going to fight saying minor change, major change, technical change? Who's going to fight all of that? He will say minor change. At least at the first level, when you look at income tax, I have never practiced income tax, I have done only in articleship. But your income tax officer, with due respect to him, and your appellate authority or your commissioner are going to give decisions against you only. They are going to say, please go to appellate tribunal and fight your case. 80% cases will happen that way. So here also, authorities might end up saying that act says change. Now I will not get into technicalities of that, saying that look, you please fight it out. So the idea is to avoid those fights, 90% of which can be avoided. If you are very clear in the planning, we'll take 1 month more to plan. But let's be clear and let's make a mind that this is not be allowed. If at all at the planning stage itself, or let's not do fancy planning where you will be forced to do that kind of thing, which you want to sensitize, the architect change will not be allowed. Which also then brings, since we are on this aspect of planning, and then part A of 1A of construction is planning and 1B is construction. They are two sides of the same coin. So now planning. If again
Vinit, one small thing before we get into this.
Yes.
This is regarding the registration part.
Yes.
For the ongoing projects, in our act it says sale deed or lease deed. It's
correct.
not about sale agreement or lease agreement. It's about sale deed or lease deed.
Correct.
So we can't have sale deeds. We can have sale agreements.
You got ATS, right? Agreement to sales you have done.
Yeah,
Sale agreement.
we have done sales, but sale agreements are not considered as for completion of the project. 50% of the sale agreements are not considered. Sale deeds are considered.
Correct.
Okay, one thing.
Yes.
The other thing is, we can, till we sell something, we can't get registered with RERA. Right? Till we sell apartment, till we start advertising, I don't advertise.
You don't have.
I don't sell.
You don't have.
Okay, right. So I don't have to.
Yes.
But I have taken the project on developmental basis.
Sorry?
Developmental basis.
Okay.
So is it deemed to be a sale consideration for the landlord?
Interesting point. I think after so many seminars, every seminar I keep on saying that 2 to 3 questions keep on coming up. Somehow, in all of those 40, 50, this has never come up because your consideration has gone by way of number of units. So whether that person is an allottee and hence the sale has already happened. Correct? Answer, sir, in my view, depends on the nature of the agreement because he can be either of the two. Either you can decide which of the two stands to take, which bucket do we want to put this in. In my view, if the agreement is such that against a 20 crore rupee, for example, land, you promised him 50 flats, correct? And then you want to treat him that way, you want to treat him like an allottee. Even under RERA, you are going to take the same stand that you have allotted those units to him. In my view, that sale has happened, okay? Because you bought and you sold. You bought land and you sold those apartments. Although it's a fightable case, because technically speaking, what has happened is you simply paid consideration. You have not done anything more, but it is a part of the consideration that you have done. But it's absolutely a 50-50 case. Even I don't think any advocate will be able to kind of confirm it because when it goes, sorry, you had to say something first.
Then we have to get it registered as soon as we get the plan.
So I was saying that if you do not wish to register, I was just thinking that if you take the stand that he is also a co-promoter, if he is willing to do that, then both of you can become promoters. See, in joint venture, that facility you have, but if you are, but to that the landowner may not agree. If the landowner is okay of becoming a co-promoter with you, I am saying this from the angle that in Maharashtra there is a circular which makes landowner compulsory a co-promoter whether he likes it or not. So the landowners and investors, or even investors, sometimes there is a sleeping partner. He just put that money. So landowners have compulsorily become co-promoters. We are challenging it because it's technically outside RERA in our view. But if it's an allotment that you've done. Okay, there's one more thing, sir.
Vinit, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sale deed is different and sale agreement is different.
Yes.
Sale deed we make the total consideration is paid off.
Yeah.
Whether it is registered or not registered is nothing to do with RERA, if I am correct. Registration is not compulsory. If I make a sale deed after receiving the entire amount,
yes,
that itself is sufficient for RERA. That's my question.
Correct. So basically, it depends on the nature of the agreement versus, some part pending. I agree with your view that they are not speaking about registered sale deed. Sale deed is sale deed. See, if I am not registered, for example, if I will pay the penalty. Under local stamp laws, I am free to pay the penalty, you are free to pay the penalty. Correct?
Still you have time of 90 days if I believe.
Correct.
There's a 90 days from the date of sale deed to get it registered.
I think the critical test will be what is the nature of the agreement. Across India, is not just a problem here. Initially, anyway, A2S, agreement to sell or sale agreement, whatever you call it, is a prevalent practice across the country. That's what everybody is doing. And later on, they are doing sale deeds. Correct? At some places, it is compulsory to register the agreement of sale or sale agreement and also pay stamp duty, like the way it is in Maharashtra and some other states. At some places, there is no stamp duty then. Stamp duty arises on sale deed at a time of possession. You will be doing sale deed on possession, right? I think here you will be doing sale deed on possession. When do you do, or you don't do sale deed at all? You will do a sale deed, no?
We'll make a sale deed and we'll get it registered.
On possession.
On possession.
That's what, correct? So I think that's the same as Karnataka, that's the same as Uttar Pradesh and so on, correct? No, sale agreement right now, so customer comes to, I come to you, 50 lakh rupee flat, you will take 10 lakh rupee, you will do an agreement to sale. You will keep on taking money under the agreement to sale or sale agreement. You will not do sale deed. When you give me possession, is when you will do on a 100 rupee stamp paper, depending on the state's respective law, you will do a sale deed. That's, yeah.
Some of the states are following, they are doing undivided share of land. Undivided share of land.
Yes.
And then they will come under an agreement with
Correct.
work contract.
Correct. It's the same. I think Karnataka is, I think you also.
Yes, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu also
Karnataka
same.
has the same thing.
Yes. But here we have a slab system
Correct.
of this thing, Registration Act. We will follow some square feet rate 3,000, 4,000 like this. There is no bifurcation of land.
Correct.
And
Same. Maharashtra is same, sir.
Maharashtra is same. But if we adopt that, we sell undivided share of land more than 50% or 60%, then we enter an agreement with the construction contract. They may not register in RERA.
No, I think that will become. So then you are saying, I'm not so sure because yeah, you're saying that.
See, my point is the exemptions are given for the 50% of sales
Sale
should be
deed.
completed.
Correct.
So sale deed is clearly
Sale deed
shows
correct.
the total consideration should be paid.
Correct.
Then only we will make the sale deed and registration is up to them. Since they have 90 days time, they can be done afterwards also.
Correct. But a sale deed should be done. I don't think there's an exemption from sale deed as
I
such.
don't think it is only sale deed unless it is a registered one. We can have lease deeds, no number of lease deeds. For sale, as you said, you have to have a complete amount. To circumvent this thing and to avoid getting registration with RERA,
Yes.
I can have lease deeds.
Yeah.
If it is not a registered deed, I can have more than 50% of lease deeds.
Yes, lease deed also is sufficient.
I'm not, I want to be sure on this.
Yes.
See, because so just
a registered one.
Yeah, it need not be a registered. Registration is nothing to do with RERA.
see, basically we cannot.
Lead did also not to be.
Yes. No need. No need.
And you can double check with this advocate also. When you are reading the law, you cannot read more in the law. We have to read what is there. There's no need for us to add anything in what they have given. Okay. So booking. So you're on the planning aspect. In planning, one critical thing which is there, both for ongoing, you can use this with the projects are coming, is phasing of the project. Correct? So let's look at how phasing will work. We'll look at some of the aspects we just saw. So number one is for ongoing, generally the buildings that you've started, plus if the cluster has some more buildings which you have not started. If it's a cluster based thing, then obviously please try and register the cluster itself. 3-4 building cluster, and you have got 3-4 such clusters in a township. That's one. If you have got just 2 buildings, correct? If you have just got 1 building, obviously there's nothing. If you have got 2 buildings, for example, you have started work of one, not started work of another, you have a choice of whether to register both or not. And I can tell you some principles on which you can decide that choice. What's going to happen is if your first building, and let's look at pros and cons of both, correct? If you, the advantage of registering just 1 building and leaving the second building, whether you have started the work or not, or whether you have started some work, maybe you have a podium, then common podium, then couple of floors, whatever that is, but not started sale. See, the acid test is, as long as in the second building you have not started sale, although you are constructing, you can still take the stand that I am registering just the first building. Advantage is, if that building is in an advanced stage, then RERA has one clause which says 70% money has to be deposited of the registered in a separate account. When does that deposit stop? When you get the money back, I mean whatever is the balance back on completion of the project. Now if this building is going to complete first and the second building will take 1 year, 2 years more to complete, then your money of the first building technically might also get locked up till the time the second building is completed, because you defined your project as 2 building project. Correct? At the same time, please remember that anyway, if our intent is to anyway build 2 buildings, what are you going to do with the surplus of first? Put it in the second building anyways. Correct? So many people are taking the stand that in the RERA regime, I anyway do not want to take out the money by line extra, I want to complete the project, because penalties for non-completion or delay are very heavy. So it's a blessing in disguise. Many people are taking it that way, that we will simply, keep the money, register both the buildings, correct, and finish. Because the disadvantage, as we saw, if you register 1 building, then even when 2 towers, you can advertise 2 towers. The flip side is, customer comes, he says, "Mujhe roadside ka chahiye, ye view chahiye," you can't give him, it's not registered. I mean, you can. You have to register and then give him, but which will anyways register. So that's the flip side. So the plus side virtually is quick completion and quick money out. But at a practical level, a simple 2 building project might be difficult to break it down into phases. It's better to do the whole thing together. The other side is, if you register these 2 as separate projects, there's another point of that 70% account. I won't come to the account. RERA basically says, if you register a project, open an account for the project, and 70% of the collections of the project, please put it there and use it only for that project. And use it as and when you progress, as and when you spend the money. Now, if you've got 2 projects, 2 phases registered, for example, then you have to open 2 accounts and you can't interchangeably use the money. Now, the problem that you will face is, first building actually is giving you the cash flow and the support to build the second building. And now you've cut your own arm, because you are not using the money or letting yourself use the money to the extent of 70%. 30% is free. But if you register as 1 project with 1 account, you can use the money interchangeably. Also, at a practical level, with 2 buildings, you can have different configurations. One will have 2 BHK, one will have 3 BHK. 2 might sell faster, 3 might sell slower. Now you might want to take advantage of the fact and use money interchangeably, which will be a restriction if you register separately. So I think these are the principles you need to keep in mind while registering a project, especially the smaller 1 building, 2 building, etc. Let's jump to, let's say, 4 buildings. 2 buildings started, 2 not started, or out of 4 buildings, 1 started, 1 to be started, etc. Yes, there I agree that you might then want to split the 2 buildings that you are not started at all those can completely be a different phase altogether. You just registered 2, and the reason for that is that tomorrow, if you want to change the plans of the balance 2 buildings, correct? Then if you have not registered them as a project, correct? You can change them. If you have registered them as the same project, then the law says that you have to take 2/3 consent of the people to whom you sold. So 4 buildings, 8 buildings, 10 buildings, it's best to break them down, and future buildings it is advisable not to register immediately as a project. From a consumer angle, yes, we will have to explain, and also you have to take care that you have registered 2 projects, your sales guy's enthusiasm might say कि sir वो तो register साहब ने 2 किया है लेकिन करने वाले 10 है. So that should not happen. That you will also take care. Also the possession date, completion date, what you have registered, your sales people or you should not in a communication SMS say, look, I have taken a 2-year buffer and registered, I will give you 2 years earlier. That's a commitment which you should not. You stick to the date when you are kind of delivering. Let's give some credit to the consumers. They are also smart, they understand, they know a brand, they know developers, they know the stage of the project, etc. So you can always tell them, sir, in your and my interest I have taken a 1-year buffer, because if I delay the project, then people who want to make trouble can come after me, and then you will also suffer. All of us will suffer. Hence I have taken a buffer which people will understand. I'm sure they will understand. Yes, sales guy's job will become tough, but that's the way the new law will work. So I was saying from a phasing angle, larger projects, yes, best to break down, register separately. Whenever you start a subsequent phase, when you start constructing sale, just go and register that phase. Yes, please.
One more thing. Like you said, small changes like elevation, small changes. For doing small changes, we need 2/3 of buyers' consent, right?
Yes.
We can as well go for a revised plan with the authorities for small changes, change in elevation or small changes.
Yeah, so actually they have given, there's a provision in RERA which says, sir, that minor alterations as are required for the construction. So my interpretation is, you might want to shift this column an inch. You might have some, all of those changes are okay. Anything which is a substantial elevation change, and yes, because the wording is that way, obviously, yes.
No.
You can change the plan. You need consent. You can change the plan.
I can change the plan,
But
the
that does
authorities.
not supersede the rules, existing building rules. 2/3 buyers cannot take a decision which cannot overrule the existing building rules.
No, anyway, buyers cannot take a decision at all. Sir, buyers anyway cannot take a decision. This issue will come when you have to make a change and you go to them. Okay, I want to make this change.
Instead of going to them, I can as well go to the authorities and get my revised plan.
No, for that only you need the consent, sir.
For that you need that.
See, okay, one more thing you need to understand. With RERA, your apartment ownership laws, your building bylaws, everything remains the same. That's not going. Now they are saying that today you could just get up, go to authority and say, look, I had a park here. Now I am getting more FSI, or I reduce the park and do this. Or
Change in specification.
changes, so that what changes will happen? Changes specifications. By the way, for changing specifications of the flats, you need consent of every flat owner, not 2/3 flat owners, because you are changing my flat. Correct? So you take consent of every guy where you change the specification. So instead of marble, you are giving something else, or whatever you are doing. If you are changing layout, then you need 2/3 consent of all of the people. So you can, but you need consent. Internal flat changes requires consent of that allottee, which virtually means 100% consent, right? Because you have to go to every allottee and take the change, take the consent, not 2/3.
One person.
So while we are doing the sale agreement, why can't we take an undertaking letter stating all these stipulated changes which we are going to do will be for the benefit of the end purchaser?
So you should and will anyway put that clause. What is doubtful, although RERA is silent, is how much that clause will stand in the new regime, because they say that this change will require a consent, which means I agree with you that they have not said that consent should be now, later, etc. But the consensus in the government, in authorities, is that a blanket consent, undated consent, is not a consent. When you decide to make the change, you have to take the consent. But yes, since you are on the point, as a developer, you will put that clause saying for your benefit, I am doing it only for a benefit. Why will I do it to make your life difficult? Correct? I will do it only for your benefit. One. Secondly, sir, since we will all put that clauses anyways, because anyway, if nothing else, what's going to happen, and especially in Andhra Pradesh, this is more like so because you are the only state where your registration certificate copy is going to go to the competent authority. So the RERA authority will send a copy of the registration certificate to the municipal authorities. Correct? That's going to happen. So tomorrow there is a chance that the municipal authority will say that as they ask for NOCs, water NOC, fire NOC, there's a chance that your municipal authority will say that please go and get 2/3 consent before I allow you permission. Now at that case, you can show them this clause. Yes sir, I have this, and maybe they will listen. But if a consumer goes to the RERA authority, it's unlikely that they will listen. They will say, look, when did you propose the consent now? So please take a change in plan now. Okay. At a even more practical level, what people are doing.
In case of bigger projects.
Sorry?
In case of bigger
projects, yes.
They are registering part by part. But the access and entries will be the same, liabilities will be the same.
Yes.
How do we go?
So access and entry. So his question is, if it's a large township, then change in layout, and I'm registering a part of it. Let's say I've got 4 clusters. All those 4 clusters have their independent maybe amenities, and there are some common amenities, green areas, open space, roads, etc., etc. So as far as and I'm presuming that I'm presuming you will register just one cluster, or you register cluster wise. So let's look at the simple part first. What's going to happen is that other than that one cluster, if you are making change in layout outside the cluster, correct? That is, you are changing another cluster from 2 to 3 BHK, you are changing open spaces outside, correct? That might be okay. But here's the problem that you're going to face. When we are going to register a layout, so that cluster is a part of a layout. And here's a valid point, and I subscribe to the view that you said. You have shown to the buyer entrance gate in a certain place, roads in a certain way, and green areas, etc. in a certain way. That's how your plan has got sanctioned. Correct? As long subscribe to the view that you said, that you cannot change. So what you are registering the authority is a cluster of 4 buildings and a layout. That is what you are registering. What can change without consent is the other 4 clusters. Correct? Those changes, even their footprint changing, as long as you are not affecting a common area. Correct? You can change whatever. You can make you have shown a 7-story building. Now you want to build a tower there. I will take an extreme case. So let's say you build a cluster of affordable housing. G+5, G+6, G+4. In my existing sanctioned layout, and you have registered just that cluster. Correct? Let's take a very practical case. Next to it is a G+7 building, which is what I have not registered. That cluster of G+7 are not registered. Tomorrow I decide that instead of G+7, I want to build G+15 stories. Correct? Now can this guy come and say that I never thought there's a skyscraper here? He cannot say that because you are not registered. That is not a part of this project.
So it's access and be the same.
As long as you maintain access, as long as you maintain road, and as long as you do not change the amenities that you disclose to the promoters. Because where I will ask you to take my permission is if you change the 10% open space, 15% open space, if you change the park area, because I can come and say, look, when I bought it, I thought this entry comes in and straight is my home. I don't want to run through 2-3 clusters, etc. to come to my place. And this will be a concession. I can say that. Although what I am saying will also get tested, because from a RERA perspective, we are only talking of layout change and so on and so forth. So a 10% view can be taken that layout should be layout of the cluster, and something which is outside the cluster in terms of design. See, as long as since you are on this technical point and you are doing bigger projects, I can take the view that I am not changing anything I promised. I am giving you 10% open space, I am giving you pool, I am giving you everything. Correct? But that becomes a fighting case. Correct? In normal case, please don't change the layout. You cannot change the footprints.
So we are not going to change the layout.
Correct.
But for the second place or the second cluster also, the entry and exit will be from the same place.
They will remain the same.
So the customer may dispute stating that you have registered only these 4 buildings and you are going to
Second question. Right. That will not happen, sir. That will definitely. So that's a very clear answer. That will not happen because we have to understand that we have to look at RERA registration as a part of project development, in the sense there is also something called your agreement to sale, and there is a legal agreement. In the legal agreement, you are mentioning that, and you will anyways be mentioning right now, that this is a part of a bigger layout. There will be more buildings. Those plans will change. They will change as per anything. So there you are going to write everything. So as a customer, I know anyways that is happening. I have not registered because I have the privilege of not registering. And then whatever I have not registered, correct? What is the choice that you have as a consumer? As a choice, what I have is I can go to the website, I can see your plan. See with me. Let us all remember, I'll give you a parallel example, you'll understand quickly. Many of us will be investing in shares, primary markets. None of us would have read the prospectus. 200-page document, I'm sure nobody has read. Your RERA registration is like a prospectus. Correct? You have disclosed everything. Consumer, after disclosing, what is the other side of the story? Consumer, after having seen the bigger layout, cannot turn around and say, I did not know. He's supposed to have seen it. That your plan was not a 4-building plan. It was a 16-building plan. Plus your agreement already has that. So I'm saying agreement is legal, and even from the disclosure and commercial angle, you've shown the plan. Because the plan which has that government ka thappa is a big plan anyways, right? It's not a small plan, and you're uploading that plan. Saying that, look, this is my overall plan. So that question will not arise. There is no doubt there. He cannot turn around and say your agreement should cover it correctly. That's all.
As you said, suppose the customer say, if you don't do the phase 1, phase 2, he may say that you have to do it.
No.
Purchase the bigger layout, whereas you are restricting like this.
Let's keep a simple rule in mind. You are liable only for 2 things. Number 1 is the phase that you complete. You've said 4 buildings. Yes, that completion is a must. 2, all the agreements, all the amenities that you said in the annexure, those must be done. Beyond that, customer cannot come against you. That's very clear. There's no ambiguity, although it's not meant in so many. If you read the entire act, that's their purpose. Beyond that, he cannot say anything.
They cannot restrict the access and entries. They cannot dispute.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. There's absolutely no. Your agreement should very clearly mention it, of course. Agreement, plan, etc. Yes, sir.
Vijayawada, most of the builders will construct 20-30 plans.
Right.
So can we do in such a way, like we do agreement, we will complete only external part and skeleton work, and we do elevation, all common amenities we provide. But internal work we don't do it. We will ask the LRD to do it itself. What is will RERA accept?
So 2 answers. 2-point answer to this. Number 1, again a golden rule under RERA is that RERA is not entering or crossing the line of your contract. See, your contract can be anything. You can do a contract under RERA because they are not challenging contract. Contract, they have given a format, of course. Correct? But what needs to be done? So you can, for example, if you want to sell land and say that, look, I have sold you land and I have taken construction contract to build on it. Is it allowed? Yes, it's allowed. Then you will have to register under RERA for sale of land, for example, because in more than 500 square meters of land, correct? Technically you are registering, you have to register under RERA anyways. But that apart, they are not anything which is contractual, price of the flat, timeline, data. So two projects adjacent to each other. You might say I take 2 years to complete 30 flats. He might say I might take 4 years. That's his choice. Correct? RERA, in my view, and that's another point where I think from a rules angles we may have to build on as we go along, is where at one part in the rules they have said that they will review the project. My view is very clear. RERA authority has the power to review the application. They do not have power to review the project, and there's a difference between the two very clearly. So the power to review the application, this is an important point, please keep, because if your registration is challenged, my view is they can challenge the application. They can challenge what's written in the application and the attachments, for example, but not the project itself. So tomorrow they cannot say that why are you taking 5 years? what is the quality of material. Or suppose a person who is doing 30 units wants to do a 30-acre project, they cannot say what are your credentials. By the way, AP, yes. Okay. So I'll keep on covering, you can keep sending questions, I'll cover it at a relevant place. So please remember, I think jurisdiction of RERA authority, and this again was a point which was there in the central rules, which has come in the AP rules, but it's not there in the final central rules because we challenged it at a central level, which is they had given wide powers to the authority to kind of review the project. But I don't think they can, even if they do, you please challenge. What they can say is, they can say, look, somebody said there's a litigation in the project, you are not disclosed. Somebody has said that your past projects have been delayed, you are not disclosed. Please give me details. Then, all of those things which you have, there in the application, yes, they can do. Title of the land, so on and so forth. That it is not correctly disclosed, but they cannot say, even if it's a litigated land, what does RERA say? Please disclose litigations. Correct? So as long as I am disclosing litigations, can the authority say that you are doing project on the litigated land? I don't think they can, because you are disclosing it. It's exactly like your prospectus of SEBI. The first 10 pages of a prospectus, correct, are all the good deeds and so on of the promoters. Correct? So if you read a prospectus, that's what they are. But all the disclaimers are there in the first 10 pages. I am giving disclaimer, I am doing the project. Anyway. Yes.
How about this title insurance? Some of the companies are understood of the how they have done with this title insurance?
Sir, the clause of title insurance, so the question is, RERA says you have to take insurance of title and insurance for construction, but sir, the clause says that clause itself is applicable from the date the state government notifies it, and no state government has notified it. I think AP had come with circular saying that they will notify. I read somewhere, but no state, they cannot, because there is India, there is no title insurance which is available right now. Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, since we are on the subject, had formed a committee last June. We have given recommendations for title insurance. Also, in Parliament, in the earlier session, there was a Land Titling Bill 2011 which is pending for those of you interesting read, where they want to officially give you title, which is there in many developed states, which will take off a lot of headache from you, and some pilot projects have started where government will look at your title papers, take them back and do a one-time thing and say, look, this belongs to this year, then that cannot be challenged. Once a title is given by the government, so that's a land titling bill and title insurance. But as we speak, the act will become applicable, and I think Kadai will, local state will inform you. After that particular section is notified by the state government, which is not, because they can't. So I think that answers your question.
So I have one question.
Yes.
Regarding ongoing projects registration and with respect to multiple blocks. See, suppose one of us is doing a multiple block project, and in one or two blocks, the slabs are over. The structure is over.
Yes.
Structure is over. Does it come under ongoing project? The blocks which
follow this criteria, because you have satisfied one of the 4 criteria of all the slabs being over, then you can exclude those blocks from registration. You can say that that's a completed phase. Assume there are 4 buildings. 2 buildings, slabs are completed.
Can you give me the clause number? Something where?
So this is
it mentioned in an AP Act or in the national?
No. So basically, the way this comes in is you have a definition of ongoing project. So it has got 2 links. Link number 1 is your section 3 of RERA, which says that a promoter can, section 3 itself says you can register a phase of the project. That's 1. Number 2 is your rule 2O, 2 into bracket O, which has defined ongoing project. In ongoing project, so by the way, section 3 also says that you have to register within 3 months what? You have to register a project which is ongoing and which has not got a completion certificate. Now we are saying that because of your AP rules, this project goes out of ongoing in the first place. Correct? So section 3 doesn't apply for those particular 2 buildings.
What is the basis or benchmark to certify? Who is to certify that the structure is complete or?
No, so there's no need. You have a sanctioned plan. So when they say where all slabs are laid in housing projects,
that's perfect with photograph. Self-affidavit with
Yeah, and sir, basically so you will have a sanction plan which will say, right, 10 slabs. So those 10 slabs, your architect will say, that these 10 slabs are working.
So architect certificate.
Take architect certificate. See, the rules are silent, but here you have to take practical calls and move ahead. They are saying all slabs are laid. Your architect will say, look, I have reviewed the sanction plan. Sanction plan says 10 slabs, and you have done 10 slabs as on 30th April. That's it. Keep it on record.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Sir, in defect liability period, it was mentioned even for workmanship.
Yes.
Defect liability period
Yes.
is mentioned, sir.
Yes, it is.
What exactly it is, sir?
So let me start with the disclaimer itself. I think defect liability is one of the clauses in RERA which will see a degree of fights, which will see degree of cases, etc. Because I completely agree with you, it is very difficult to define what is workmanship. Because it's a very subjective thing, right? What is workmanship and what is quality of workmanship? So in common parlance, it would be, for example, these tiles, correct? If there's a gap in between, they are not fitted well. Or let's say your window frames, correct? Gap between the wall and the window frame. Or your plumbing, not done well. Your painting, for example. Typically, if I have taken a flat, internal paint is okay, external there's a balcony, there are smudges there, it's not done well. You know, all of those things is where I will say, look, this workmanship is not right. In common areas, for example, in external, you know, you have these internal roads or internal parapets and so on. Sometimes unka ye theek nahi hota because, you know, even after construction you have all these trucks and vehicles going on. So, you know, those tiles come out. Gardens sometimes there's common is a problem. So all of those become workmanship problems. But I agree. So there are 2 points I would like to say. This doesn't talk about maintenance, by the way. This talks about defect, and there's a difference between the two. After you have given something, if something goes wrong, that's maintenance. Correct? Whereas, and that's where I am saying that a lot of these fights will happen or might happen. Where did it happen? Let's see, in India, for example, people use their houses even for running home industries. They'll be doing cooking there. And they'll be doing all these masalas and so on there. So if they are using all of those instruments, your tiles might break. That's not defect. You gave tiles well. Ensure in the agreement, ensure in the possession letter. So we have a developer in Pune who has a 140-point checklist, like the way Sir has done. He's got a 140-point possession checklist. So what he does, like the way a car wala person, even if you are buying the second or third car, he'll sit in the car next to you. Gaadi chalu karke dikhayega, open karke dikhayega. You think that he's being good, he's actually doing the same thing. He's telling you that when I gave you the car, it was working. Correct? Everything was working and so on and so forth. Like that, he's got a checklist that pani aa raha tha, windows were opening, door was closing and all of that. Correct? That's something, and then he signs off saying that, look, instead of taking a general sign on a 4-line thing that I took possession, he takes sign. His engineer takes, his sales guy takes around, post-sales guy, takes sign. It's one of the preventive measures. Correct? But, and here he says, where he's seeing that I saw it, I physically seen what? So he's ticking and signing on each page. Correct?
Sir,
but workmanship, these typical clauses will come, and structural defects are the classic, leakage being the classic defect which will come up. You will have an issue, and initially till the act stabilizes and the first decisions come out. You know, typically concrete cracking, you know, all of those which are technically not defects. For example, color of materials. When you are taking something like marble and so on, it has a natural quality, right? It's natural quality, so you have to write somewhere in the agreements. Please tell your advocates to add on these points that when I bought the flat, I paid for it and I know the natural quality of the material, that this will happen. Correct? At least then you will not say, oh, kala pada, pila pada, all that. No. I mean, it will happen, but you will be saved.
I am having just 2-3 questions, sir.
Sorry?
In joint development agreements, we are concluding agreement with landowner on a development basis, and we are allotting flats to landowner.
Correct.
Later on, he is selling his share of flats.
Correct.
So, what RERA is saying for those flats, for the landowner share of flats, later on he will sell.
Defect liability. For defect
liability. Will it lies on builder?
Good question. Yes, it lies on builder for the simple reason that the defect liability clause says 5 years from the date of possession. Number 1. Number 2, definition of allotee, if land is allotee, also includes a second sale. Same like car, sir. 5-year car warranty. You sell me the car after 2 years. I enjoy 3-year warranty. Correct? Same with flat. So 2 years you enjoy, 3 years I enjoy. Whether it's land or not, it doesn't matter. Correct? But okay, a related question that we need to take care, and I think the question which was asked there, allotee versus co-promoter. The advantage of making him an allotee, especially in case of area share, is that if he is a co-promoter and he is getting area share, revenue share is okay. Correct? He is just getting money. Is that in case of co-promoters, all promoters are jointly liable. Which means if he missells, you are not directly, but project registration is just one, right? He is selling 40 units, you are selling 60 units. But project is one. So the case will be filed against the project and under both the promoters. Tomorrow, if he is committed of mis-selling thing that carpet area is not mentioned or whatever is done. So I think that allotee makes sense.
Just one more question, sir.
Yes.
So my project is under construction, sir. I have not sold any one flat as on today. Now I want to complete the project and then I want to sell all the flats after getting completion certificate.
Correct.
Then am I required to register under RERA, sir?
Sir,
yeah.
500 square meters extent of site minchina 8 flat meeku kadtunna, you have to register.
Correct.
That is you have to register, that's all.
So let's say the extreme case, you get your completion certificate. After that you are selling.
If I register at that point of time, will act permit me?
Yeah, that is fine.
Not after getting permission.
No. So basically, to remember this simply, yeah. The simple way to remember is, RERA is opposite of environment approval. Environment says, you first take environment approval, then start constructing. RERA says, you can construct as much as you want, you cannot sell. Correct? So you can take, so the advantage, and some people are thinking about this, correct, is I am saved from 2 of the biggest liabilities under RERA, and I have got one commercial, so I have got 3 advantages. Advantage 1, there is a penalty under RERA and interest etc. for delayed possession. That issue is out. Number 2, there is no question of mis-selling, because I will tell the consumer, please come and see the flat and buy it. I don't need to show a sample or whatever, you are just directly buying what you are seeing. Advantage 3 is that after completion, this issue of 70-30 will not come. Directly you will take all the money because
I need not open this escrow account.
You need not open the escrow account.
I need not obtain permission every time from chartered accountant.
Correct.
And,
so you have got 3 big advantages. If you can manage to construct it completely and at the end, nothing like it. In fact, no, you cannot escape. No.
The defect liability will be there.
See, since 2 liabilities are there, even after conveyance. Liability 1 is defect liability. Liability 2 is this title ka thing, and I think most of you will know by now that silence please. Most of you would know by now that the liability of the promoter for title of the land is permanent now. Correct? So any case coming on the land, even after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, the promoter has to say, which is completely unfair in India. They have gone way ahead, etc. I am sure at some stage it will get fought. Maybe authority tribunal, but at least at a high court level, this is a very unjust provision that after I have given you the flat, I have conveyed it to you. When you bought it, I have disclosed whatever was to disclose. Later on, if something comes, but unfortunately, RERA today says, even after 50 years, the allottees or the building owners can come and say, look, there's a case, you have to help us fight it, you have to bear the case. RERA reads right now that way, perpetual responsibility of land. So for these, you need a registration. Sir. Although let me tell you a very interesting point, and this is what we are debating, sir, on the sale after completion. For those of you who are interested, please read section 5.3 of RERA, correct? Section 5.3 of RERA, and that's on the grounds of that, we are arguing with the authority saying whether this registration is maybe not compulsory, or can you give us a shorter way of registering? You know, I don't give the whole thing, and there's a reason for that. Why is it compulsory? Because exemption from registration is only if you have got completion till 30th April. Correct? Anytime later you build and sell, it is compulsory anyways. Correct? Registration is compulsory. Section 5.3 says that the promoter will apply for the period of registration will be till completion of the project. Correct? Now imagine that on 30th of June 2017 I have completed the project. On 1st of July I go to the authority and tell him, sir, please give me registration. They will say, how much period you want the registration for? I will say -1 day. What will you write in the certificate? Certificate has to say that this certificate is valid for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, something, right? Now the certificate, what will I write? 0 year or 0 days, because the period cannot exceed the completion period of the project. So that's a technical reason on which we are saying that the intent of the act based on the section 5(3) that they should not. But this is a, please do not, I am just telling this for academic purposes, because we are telling the authority that I wish to register. When the problem will come, we are actually going to test case, we are going to take a test case to authority of a developer, because till now anyway is 31st July. So post 31st July in Maharashtra we are going to take a test case, file to the authority, but you are not authorized to register me. Because if you have to register me, you have to mention period. No? It is compulsory on you to mention period, and how will you mention period? You can't, unless then the act changes. Act can't change. So if you can't give me registration certificate, how can I register? I wish to. That's, but I'll keep you updated on what happens on that front. But that's 5(3) for you. Anyways.
Sir,
Yeah.
Can I construct 20 flats on my own and sell it after completion?
You have to, yeah, you can do it. You have to register. As an act stands today, you have to register. Individual or doesn't matter?
No, I'm an individual.
You are, if you want to retain them, it's okay. As long as you want to sell them. Selling means. No.
So, no. His question is, I have a land, ancestral land of 1,000 square yards, where I constructed more than 8, and at the time of during construction, it's not meant for sale. So after completion, after taking NOC, I decided to sell. Will it come under as a sale of immobile property?
Yeah, it will come as a sale of property.
So
basically, I tell you why it will come. You are trying to say it's my personal property.
Yes.
But RERA is not saying personal, not personal. The acid test in RERA is, no, the first line of section 3 is no promoter shall advertise, sell, offer for sale, etc. So you can't read more in the act. Now, advertise act says you can't sell without registration, whether it's ancestral, not an. Sir, for that matter, let's go to the other extreme. Even a cooperative society has to register. Even a cooperative society, if it is developing a particular unit, has to register, because that scope is so wide. Or for that matter, since we even so I also did this presentation for some of these housing development authorities. So when I was in Lucknow, I made a presentation to the Commissioner of the Co. He is the Commissioner of the Housing Authority. So somebody had told him, he has an issue and you will also now be liable. So I said, yes, you are liable.
Viniji.
Because development authority is covered, so its chairman is covered.
Viniji, for that clarification.
Yeah.
They exempted housing societies and housing.
It's very tricky because, see, so basically any rules which cross the act will become very, in India what will happen is they will stand till that they are challenged.
Viniji.
Yes, please.
For that individual project which is after selling of NOC, it is clearly mentioned that more than 500 square meters or 8 dwelling units comes under RERA. Even after NOC also, it is, we have to register in RERA because there is a 5 years maintenance period is also there. So a project is built for the commercial purpose, for sale offering. It must register in RERA.
Yeah, so, yeah, you must register under RERA. Yeah, you must register under RERA. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, one more question. If I am a builder taking a land from development activity from 2 owners, after going some construction is over, they are having any legal issues from the owner's side. So a project is delayed.
Okay.
Is the builder is liable for that?
Unfortunately, yes. That's another of the contentious and unfair clauses in RERA. where the way they have defined force majeure. So they have said that when you apply for registration, you are giving a period of completion. That period cannot be exceeded except if there is a force majeure. And force majeure, the way they have defined it, you can get extension for the project from the authority of only 1 year. And that also because of force majeure. What is force majeure? Act of God. For flood, fire, etc. Now I know that we do treat landowners as God.
So here some partial.
Unfortunately, that is not covered under RERA.
Here some partiality is shown because the builder is responsible for the manufacturing of flats for ownership.
Yes.
Here for legal complication from owner side, we are liable.
I will add on to the complication. Tomorrow, for example, look at a classic case. Your occupation certificate is delayed. RERA doesn't cover that clause. You have guaranteed possession date and your OC is delayed, for example. Then what happens? So even that is that's unfair. You know. Okay, let me answer that when I'm going to cover in the rules. You know what rule you can refer, because there is a possibility that as you go, for example, you will need in, for example, one of the clauses which is there in AP rules says your responsibility also. You are giving an affidavit saying the project will get connected to utilities, water, sewage, etc. is what the UP rules say. Now those permissions are not in your hands. Still you are guaranteeing possession and you are guaranteeing completion. How do you do that? Correct? In that case, it might so happen that consumers will say this is delayed. Please remember that the authority, please keep your documentation very, very strong. Reminder to your competent authority and so on, that delay, etc. Keep on record. Inform customers that this delay is caused by this. Authority, just to close this point, has the powers of a civil court. So when you apply to the authority, you will say do one thing. Please call for records from the corporation. When did I apply? When was I given? And what were the reasons for denial? Authority has got full powers to call for documents. In fact, in Maharashtra, sir, we added a provision where they can call for relevant officers also. But even when their provision is not there, because they have powers of civil code, authority, you just need a powerful authority where a person says, look, I want a commissioner here, or I want a relevant officer here to depose as to why this was delayed. And because that will be your stand. And then, in that case, it's not like a consumer court, it's like a civil court where they have to follow law of natural justice. Correct? Irrespective of what's said in the act, rules, etc. Natural justice must prevail. So if it's not your fault, yes, maybe the first level authority might levy something, but at an appeal level, I'm sure you'll get the justice. Yes.
And that's why we are asking that all stakeholders, those who are suppliers of materials and insurance companies and landowners and officers, authorities also,
right.
All stakeholders which they are involved in construction activity, they must be incorporated in RERA.
Correct.
Not only the builder, not only the responsibility for the
correct.
builder.
So the practical case is, many suppliers don't give you 5-year guarantee. Which supplier gives you 5-year guarantee? So maximum is 1 or 2 year guarantee, but you are guaranteeing 5 years. Correct? So I think in that sense it's unfair. Of course, in your planning, you have to start either renegotiating contracts or stringent terms with suppliers contract. We'll have to do that. That's the best you can do. What more can you do?
Sir,
okay.
In approved layout,
yeah.
The promoter sold all the flats. Approved layout, it comes under RERA. Under RERA, it registered and sold out. In that project, 10 customers will take an own approval for construction villas in the individual approvals. Whether a builder comes and take the turnkey project for 10 flats, one individual builder taking turnkey project for all these 10. Is there any need of RERA registration?
No, in my view, if you have very clearly sold the plots, 50 plots, you have sold the plots, and then again you have taken a contract for development.
Not development, sir. It's a turnkey
sorry, for construction of the villa or individual villa. That contracting is not covered by RERA.
Okay.
The plot sale is covered by RERA.
Okay,
that's already done, so that's not covered by RERA.
So not covered.
That's not RERA. I will just cover before the next question the balance 2 points, and so can then continue with questions itself, right? So we finished booking sale. One point which I have to say, and then we are on construction, planning, and hence defect liability, etc. One point you need to know in that booking sale is that RERA makes it compulsory for you to register the agreement, not just do an agreement, but register the agreement for sale before you take more than 10% money. Okay? that is compulsory. So which means things like investor sale, where somebody you say that okay, somebody comes to you and say, give me a better rate, I will give 50% advance, 60% advance. That's allowed, but you need to take 10%, register the agreement and take the balance. Even if you want to do it on the same day, please take care that you take one check of 10%. Because if you take one check of 50%, you have got two problems. Problem one is you are technically defaulted under the Act, because you are not supposed to take this 50%. Take 10, take another of demand of whatever, at least you have two numbers, and if possible, deposit on the next day. Then that trail is very, very clear. And there's a second problem. Under the agreement of sale which is given here, they allow you to deduct. I am seeing problem if you don't take the 10% first. The 10% money that you take first, please call it the booking amount. RERA allows you to deduct the booking amount if the customer cancels the flat. Okay? Now you can say that 10% full is the booking amount. So you can deduct the entire 10% if it is default of the customer. If you take the full 50%, then there's no booking amount in the first place. So on those grounds, please remember, take care of agreements. One thing for ongoing projects that we are going to face is that you would have taken more than 10% for bookings done before 30th April. Correct? Now you will register. Correct? So technically when you register before 31st of July and you are under RERA, you are on day one defaulter under RERA. Correct? Because you have registered and taken more than 10%. Of course, one stand we have is these are older agreements. So you have to refer to your local apartment ownership act. You know how much money they allow. But I am presuming that monies have been taken more than even the apartment ownership act allowing, for example. In which case my request is next 15 days, 20 days, whatever is left, please try and register as many agreements as possible. Number one. Number two, related problem is that you have taken money, but unfortunately the project is not sanctioned. That's a bigger worry, bigger concern. Please remember, you have taken money, but project is not sanctioned. It's stuck somewhere. Correct? In which case, what does RERA say? Technically, it is not an ongoing project, because unless it is sanctioned, it cannot be an ongoing project, sanctioned and started. So now you have committed double crime under RERA. Number one, you have taken money before registering under RERA, and you have taken money before getting your own sanctions. That is a municipal plan sanctions. In which case, if you have got cases like this, please remember, and I do not wish to create fear, but I think it's a very practical case and consumer awareness is very high. Please take care. If you have got advances pending, please talk to your chartered accountant and see if you can simply show them as loans. That's a much practical way of doing it. Because to the extent possible, if you want to refund, if you can do that. If not, at least they cannot be in your books as advances, as advance against flats. Because the penalty for selling and taking money before registration under RERA is 10% of the cost of the flat. And if you have got money in your books on 31st of July, which is not for an ongoing project, which is technically a new project, you sold a new project, took money, that will not be pardonable. Correct? And that's a very clear open and shut case. So please take care, because if at least I would have said, see, because before 31st of July, if you have to register this project, you will need municipal sanction, which you will not have. So even that route is out. So please take care on that front. Also, you will have a midway case where two buildings sanctioned, two not sanctioned, one sanctioned, not, so take that case as well. So now we finished booking, we finished construction defect liability. Last bit is possession and conveyance, which is a very controversial topic. Possession first. They say that you, and which has got an advantage also, you have to offer, so basically 2-3 points. Number one, within 2 months of occupancy certificate, or within 3 months of OC, you have to anyway give that possession. Secondly, in the duties of the allottees, they have also said that he must also come forward to take possession within 2 months, which is compulsory on him, and if he doesn't do it, it's his default. Please remember, best part of RERA is allottee can also be penalized 5% of the cost of the flat. If he defaults, he can be charged interest. If he delays installments, he can be charged interest. If he doesn't pay the interest, if he doesn't pay your installment and authority passes the order saying please pay this, then he will be levied a penalty. If he doesn't pay the penalty, he can be imprisoned up to 1 year. So I think that will be a deterrent for people also to follow the agreement, because you have a recourse to the authority in the first place. So from a possession perspective, number one, there's a date that you have given. You have to follow the date. I've been telling across India that 2 dates should replace in your mind 2 existing dates. The dates that you have to now forget are your wife's birthday and your anniversary. And you have to remember possession date and completion date. Correct? These 2 dates are that important. Correct? Because if you delay possession, then there are 2 consequences. Option 1, the consumer can say, please refund me my amount. And we are talking of possessions, you are already 3 years, 2 years down the road. Consumer can say, please refund me my money with interest. Interest is not from the date of his notice. It's from the date of individual installments. Number 2, he can say that look, I will continue, please pay me interest for every month of delay of the possession and compensation. Compensation can be, typically you will say, I am staying in a rented flat somewhere, please pay the rent. That's interest plus rent that you will end up paying. So possession date, when you put in the agreement, please keep a buffer, 6 months, 1 year, whatever you wish to. Similarly, there's a completion date, which we said is completion of all amenities. Now, which is handover of the project as such. If you delay that date, then the consequences are severe. Those consequences are that the authority can revoke the registration. Revoke means the registration will not be seen the project will not be seen online. I think I missed out, you can look at, I think that's not a relevant slide which is there, you can just look at me. While after you register, you are going to get a web page, like a Facebook page address, you're going to a web page, where you have to upload all your details. And bear in mind that customers will start looking at the web page and then coming to you. That's for sure something going to happen. Today, if you have to find the address, sir, what you do? You go to Google Maps. 10 years back, there was no Google Map. But today, if you have to travel, you go to Google Maps. So, typically, what's going to happen is consumers, knowing that they have a tool, they will go and check the page. If you delay the completion, they will revoke. They have the power. I don't know how this will be used, and I don't think it is practical to use it, but they can freeze the account. They can tell the allottees that, look, I am taking away this project from the developer and I am giving it to you as an allottee for completion. Okay, so that's what will happen. So that's delayed possession, delayed completion. As far as conveyance is concerned, that's where the last controversy is, and then we'll stop on the RERA and the practical bits, and then we'll cover I have kept the bank account operation as the last bit because that's a very practical aspect and that's what the slides are about. And then we'll cover the questions. Conveyance, basically, effectively they are saying that within 3 months of your completion, you need to convey the project. Now the problem is in layout, sir. If it's a bigger layout, I need to maintain the land with me. And how do I convey? Because if I convey the land, in conveyance they are saying the apartment goes to the allottee and the common areas goes to the association, society, etc. Now if I got second phase coming up, I need to maintain the entire rights with me to make the changes, etc. Otherwise they will also come on record. Because another of RERA's rules is, the moment you cross more than 50% sale, you must form a society. Please keep in mind that the moment society is formed and people are together, obviously there's a potential of they coming together, and where even when you are right, you are answerable basically. So moment 50% sale happens, you are forming the society, you are not conveying the land, you are just forming the society. But the moment the project is over, that you are registered with RERA, within 3 months of that occupancy, you have to now register, you have to convey the land. Now if there is a project, because RERA allows me phasing, 2 phases, how do I just convey the first phase? This is a controversy which is coming up basically, so that's something we need to tackle. But anyway, that's the way it stands right now. What we have taken a stand, Maharashtra rules have a provision which says that if it's a layout, then if you're forming an apex society, etc., conveyance will happen after the last building is done. And if it's multiple buildings, you can convey just the building and the land underneath it. So which is there with just our rules, many state rules do not have it. Okay, so I think we have covered from a RERA angle and between the practical aspects as well. I want to now cover what's there on the stage because there's a yes. I will cover the last bit and then come questions, sir. So I think one practical question which will be there in everybody's minds is operation of the bank account, right? How will the bank account get operated? What we have done, just hold on to that slide there, correct? And what I will do is I will send you, we just finalized this last night about 10:30, 11. I have sent it to Kataraji and then come here. Today we are giving final touches, so I will send you a final version by tomorrow. Anyways, Kadai Maharashtra, we are working on this and we'll send this across by giving final touches. That will come a final version to you. What we have done is RERA in just one nice small paragraph says that your responsibility just to open an account and deposit 70% money there. And you can withdraw money from the account depending on proportionate completion. Which is of course a very grey area drafting about what is proportionate completion, how do you withdraw, and so on and so forth are the issues. What I have tried to do here is create a model thinking from all, because then you would also get certificate from the account and so on and so forth. See how you find it. Please give me suggestions as well how you find this. We are saying, why don't you open 3 accounts? Okay, account number 1, which is there at the top, is a collection account where you deposit 100% of customer collections. Okay, account number 2 is your RERA account, because RERA nowhere says that in the first instance put money in my account, or my account in the sense RERA account. So first customer collections go in a normal collection account which is not registered with RERA. From that give a standing instruction to deposit or sweep out of 70% money to RERA account. That's a registered RERA account, correct? Account number 3 is your expense account. Okay, now what you do is that your expense account, you will deposit 3 things. 1, you will deposit your own money, promoter's contribution wherever there is a shortfall. Number 2, if you have taken a loan, you will deposit the loan money there, correct? Number 3, the 30% surplus which you have got, that money also you can deposit there. So effectively, that becomes like your impressed account. That account is account from which you are spending money. Account number 3, expense account. Now, what you will do is from the third account, you will keep spending, correct? Let's say first month is over. You spend 5 crore rupees, correct? After you spend 5 crore rupees, go to your CA, go to your engineer, go to your architect. Your CA will certify 5 crore rupees, correct, as money spent. Number 2, your engineer will certify what is the quantum of work done. Architect will certify. So the problem here is you don't have certificate formats. What we have done is that because the RERA Act simply says certificates of all the 3. So if the 3 of them have to certify the same thing, there will be a controversy, lower of the 3, higher of the 3, etc. So we have said that the chartered accountant is the person who will give an objective certificate of the amount as such. So from the expense account, take a certificate, 5 crore rupees spent. In the RERA account, there will be some money lying, right? If you have collected 10 crore rupees, 3 crore rupees has gone in the expense account, 7 crore rupees is lying in the RERA account. All you need to do, in my view, banker has no role to play in this. Although bankers are saying it's a escrow account, etc., it's not a escrow account. RERA simply says separate account. So it's a self-managed account, self-certified account. So you take the certificate, draw a check of 5 crore rupees from this account, because your certificate says 5 crores, you have 7 crores in the RERA account, take it out, put in your expense account. Again spend in the next month, take another certificate, keep on withdrawing. Now what is the advantage of this system? Look at the 2-3 advantages. Advantage 1 is when you have to get certificates, correct? There is a cost involved, there is a time involved, there is effort involved, and you have to maintain accounts in that way. By doing this, instead of withdrawing money directly from RERA account and paying suppliers and contractors, you have created a pool of money, which is your expense account. Now the debit side of that account, of that bank account, is only expenses. There's nothing more in that account. So you tell your chartered accountant that all the payments done here are simply your expenses. And of course you are maintaining in tally and so on and so forth. Will be very easy to track. Number 1. Number 2, your RERA account and collection account remain completely clean. Because today when the audit, RERA also says that while withdrawing you need certificate, and within 6 months of the end of the year, you have to get your accounts audited from a chartered accountant, and where he will check that how much money came in, and he will check the 70%. Now, if one account has got all of this khichdi, it will become very difficult to certify. Now, if you have this system, imagine that you have the collection account in which there is nothing but just collections. In the year, 30 crore collections, that's it, or 10 crore collections. Number two, the debit of that account is nothing but just 70% transfer, 30% transfer. That account is a zero account. Very, very easy for you to maintain. Secondly, you are given standing instruction. So account money is shifted. There is no headache of default for you. Because automatically money has kept on going to the account. You have complied with RERA 70% clause. Money has gone on to RERA account. RERA account credit, no need to check again, because RERA account credit will only be 70% collections, and which are again traced to 100%. RERA account debit, and that this is very important. RERA account debit, because you are not directly paying supplier contractor from RERA account, you are paying from expense account, taking certificate. If you follow a system where you will take this certificate just monthly, RERA account debits will just be 12 debits, and each debit will have a certificate. So even when you, for your own purpose, for tomorrow there is a checking, RERA authority and the auditor, he will see credits which are matched, debits which are 12 or 24. You might withdraw every 15 days, and withdraw it, put it in expense account, and from expense account keep on sending. With this cycle, your life will become very simple, your system will be automatic, your certification will be automatic, because the guy coming has to just check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and keep on doing it. Because try and get a certificate today, for example, we are 11:30, half an hour for question answers. 11:30 is over. Oh. So, sorry. Okay, so we'll just finish questions and stop. That's the RERA.
Excuse me?
Yeah. So can I just finish these questions and huh? Yeah, just finish this. So limitation to defect liability, question 1 is limitation to defect liability. What are the items come under defect liability? I think we've covered that. Your structural defects and defects of workmanship are the principal two things which are coming here. Also maintenance will come. If you are maintaining a swimming pool, if you are maintaining something, then that can also come. If you are not maintaining, it will not come. I'll just finish the questions so that I'm around in lunch, I'm also around later, so I can also finish off questions which are additional. Correct? In case of, can we withdraw the initial booking receipts from time to time until the total site cost is recovered, along with proportionate construction cost? So there's one question which says that, okay, I'll finish the second part first. Whoever asked that first question, please meet me in lunch, I will clarify this. Somebody said that I have just added 2 or 4 floors, 2 or 4 units. The original project was more than 500 square meters. That's completed. The new project is just 2 or 4 units. Yes, you still have to register, because the definition of the project is 8 units or 500 square meters including all phases. That's the definition. So this is done.
Excuse me. In that particular question,
yes,
we are, after completion of the 8 units below 500 square meters, we have taken the NOC.
Yes.
We have done it's not required. So after
Correct.
completion that, after taking the OC, we have taken another floor.
But the building is same.
Yeah, building is same.
Sir, the problem is RERA says 500 square meters or 8 units including all phases.
Yeah.
So technically, even if you say that that's a completed phase, the count for 8 and 500, you have to count that phase also. So you have to register.
Here the issue is we are taking the other floor permission.
You need not register those units. You can register just the 4 units. That's allowed. Okay. You can register just the additional units. You need not register the completed units. But you have to register the project. That's very clear. Because it says including all phases. I think the last question is...
excuse me.
Yes.
Just there is a continuation of the answer what you made. Would you mind to explain over the RERA Act over there, which you mentioned that 500 square meters and the other clause is around 8 units, right? So if there is more than 8 units under 800 square of land, so does it fall under RERA?
Either or you fall under RERA. So 9 units and 400 square meters is RERA, 600 square meters and 6 units is RERA. So either condition is followed. So last two questions, I think 3-4 minutes. Work contract issue may have impact on loan sanction. Yeah, so somebody is saying that if I take a works contract, I may not get a loan, I agree. So generally we are saying please don't try to circumvent because it will become very tricky and somewhere or other you will cross. So it's best to kind of just finish off. Last, we have practice of registering the flat as unencrypted and that taking, okay. So again same. Works contract, can you do under RERA? Of course you can do. There's nothing stopping you from doing it because it's a contract that I am selling you incomplete flat and I am taking contract for finishing. You mentioned the specifications while registering that my specifications are no flooring, no this, no that. Can you say that? Technically you can say that. That's a contract that you have. But as far as, but you are still selling a flat. So what you are getting out of is you are getting out of the finishing aspect, but otherwise you are still under RERA. Can I think I would love to take this. Can you just give the, I am here, I think is, sorry? Yeah, I am here for lunch. I am here till almost 2:30 or so. I am there for the next few hours.
We need one last question.
Yeah.
Thing, after finishing the project, after selling more than 50% and forming the association, all the essential services can be handed over to the association.
Right, sir.
What are the essential services? Are we out of maintenance for the 5-year period maintenance for those essential services? I assume essential services will be lift,
sewage, water supply,
generator.
Yeah, all of those, huh?
So we are.
They are being handed over. The responsibility of maintenance is not on you, sir. They have to be handed over.
But maintenance is still with us.
No, that's your choice. Whether you want to make. No, it's not with you. But if there's a manufacturing defect in those things.
No. For generator and lift, we'll have only 1 year warranty.
Yes. So
our farming association will give all the bills and guarantees.
No, so that's where I'm saying that there will be a case and controversy whether it is a manufacturing defect when you deliver any case, because you will then have to pay and recover from the supplier, because unfortunately RERA doesn't go against the supplier or the, correct? So unfortunately you will have to reimburse and take care and take it back from him, or your contract should be back to back to cover this. But I am saying the cases that you will be fighting are whether it's a manufacturing defect or whether it's a usage defect, correct? That will be fought because you will say you did not maintain it properly, you did not fill diesel properly, you did not, is a failure because of that, or misuse of the lift by carrying heavy loads or whatever it is, or it was a defect. So what RERA covers, the intent of RERA is to cover manufacturing defect, not usage defects. My limited point was it is very difficult to prove one or the other. How do you prove? That's a problem, and those cases will be there and they have to be fought case to case.
Sir, just a small question, sir. Is it mandate to upload the particulars of flat purchases, every flat purchase details, and the price of every flat?
No price to be uploaded on a quarterly basis. You only have to upload number of units booked. That's it. No price, no name, no agreement, nothing. Just number of units booked. So on a quarterly basis, you have to update on the RERA website various details.
Friends,
so I'll be around very much here just for this up to 2:30. So I am here, I'll just come there. And we can have a one-to-one chat, sir.
Before breaking for tea, we would like to honor our chief guest with a memento and shawl. I request K. Subbaraj Garu, Chairman AP Federation, to honor the chief guest.
కొంచెం లాభంగా ఉంటుంది. రెడీ సార్, కొంచెం లోపలికి ఒక్కసారి, అది అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఇద్దరు ఒక్కసారి. రాజేంద్ర గారు, ఎస్ రెడీ. సార్ కొంచెం శివారెడ్డి గారు కనబడుతున్నారు, కొంచెం క్లోజ్. ఎస్ రెడీ సార్. రెడీ, అలానే ఉండండి సార్. ఏం చేయాలి ఇప్పుడు? అలా ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి?
ఫ్రెండ్స్, ఓ 15 నిమిషాలు టీ బ్రేక్ తీసుకుందాము. బ్రేక్ అయినామంటే మీ సీట్లో కూర్చోవాల్సిన కోరుకుంటున్నాను. GSTకి సెషన్ ఎమ్మడే కంటిన్యూ అవుతుంది. ప్లీజ్ టేక్ ఏ బ్రేక్ ఫర్ 10 to 15 minutes ఓన్లీ. స్మాల్ ఇదండి. ఈరోజు మన ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ని ICICI బ్యాంక్ వాళ్ళు స్పాన్సర్ చేశారు. వీఆర్ వెరీ మచ్ గ్రేట్ఫుల్ టు దట్. ఈ స్పాన్సర్షిప్ కోసం ప్రయత్నించిన మన రత్న శ్రీనివాస్, కండక్టర్ రత్న శ్రీనివాస్ ఆల్సో వీడ్ లైక్ టు థ్యాంక్ హిమ్ ఆల్సో. థ్యాంక్ యూ. టేక్ యువర్ సీట్. నెక్స్ట్ సెషన్ మొదలు పెడదాము. టీ తీసుకున్న వాళ్ళంతా ప్లీజ్ మీ సీట్లో కూర్చోండి.
I request all of you to please be seated. Please. అందరూ కూడా వచ్చి కూర్చోవలసిందిగా కోరుతున్నామండి. నెక్స్ట్ సెషన్ అండి on GST. Silence please and switch off all your mobiles. ఏమండి అందరూ కూడా వచ్చి కూర్చోవలసిన కోరుతున్నామండి. ప్లీజ్ కీప్ సైలెన్స్ అండి.
ఫ్రెండ్స్, జిఎస్టీ సెషన్ స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాము. Now I request Sri Purnachandra garu to come and deliver his speech on the GST. And Chandan garu Purnachandra garu bouquetతో హానర్ చేస్తారు. రాజేంద్ర పూర్ణ గారి గురించి ఇంట్రొడక్షన్ ఇస్తారు.
CA Purnachandra garu Kancherla completed his graduation in BCom Honors from Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, Puttaparthi during year 2006. He joined in Messrs. Mastanaya and Company Chartered Accountants, Gutturu for his CA articleship during the year of 2007 and completed CA course during the year 2010. He also completed CMA course in the year 2012 and also secured All India 19th rank in CMA inter. He became an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in May 2011 and fellow member in May 2016. He has been in the profession of Chartered Accountancy in Vijayawada since 2011 and joined in Mrs. Suresh and Babu Chartered Accountants, Vijayawada as a partner in the same year. He is the present treasurer of Vijayawada branch of SIRC of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2017 and 18. He is the past chairman of Vijayawada branch of SACA of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2016 and 17. This is the brief introduction of our CA Sri Purnachandra garu.
we request Sri Purnachandra Garu to take over the session.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, office bearers of TEDA EP, office bearers of TEDA Vijayawada, representatives of from all the 13 districts from TEDA EP, members of TEDA and other members present over in the hall. Good afternoon to one and all. మీ పొద్దున సెషన్ ఆల్రెడీ ఇంగ్లీష్లో మనకి రెరా మీద మీకు ఫుల్ ఫ్లెడ్జ్లో చెప్పినట్టున్నారండి. సో మీరు చాలా హిటెడ్ మొత్తం అంతా ఇన్పుట్స్ తీసుకొని ఉంటారు. సో వినపట్లేదండి? ఓకే, సరే కూర్చోండి. Is audible now? Okay. రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ రెగ్యులేట్ అథారిటీ మీద మీరు బ్రీఫ్ ఇంపాక్ట్ సెషన్ విన్నాక మళ్ళీ జిఎస్టీ ఇలాంటి సెషన్ మీకు మైండ్లో చాలా హెవీగా ఉంటుందండి. సో ఇప్పుడున్న పరిస్థితి ఇండియాలో నేను చూసినట్టయితే కనుక ఎలా ఉంది అంటే కంప్లైంట్స్ మోడ్లో ఉందండి. 2014 ముందు ఇండియా మన దగ్గర ట్యాక్స్ రెజీమ్ ఎలా ఉంది, ఆఫ్టర్ 2014 ట్యాక్స్ రెజీమ్ వచ్చేసి ఎలా ఉంది అంటే కంప్లైంట్స్ మోర్ ఆఫ్ లైక్ ఇదివరకు ఎలా ఉండేదంటే మనం బిజినెస్ చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోదాం, తర్వాత మనము దాంట్లో ఉన్న ప్రొవిజన్స్ మన ఆడిటర్ గారు చెప్తారు, లేకపోతే మన చార్ట్ అకౌంటెంట్ చెప్తాడు, దాన్ని బట్టి అప్పుడు మనం అప్లై చేసుకుందాము, లేకపోతే మనం బుక్స్ ఎట్లా చూపించుకుందాము, అప్పుడు మనం తర్వాత చూసుకుందాం, ముందు మన బిజినెస్ హ్యాపీగా చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోదాం అనేది ఉండేది. బట్ ఆఫ్టర్ 2014 ఐడిఎస్ అవనివ్వండి, లేకపోతే పిఎంజీవైకే కానివ్వండి, జిఎస్టీ కానివ్వండి, రెరా కానివ్వండి, మోర్ ఆఫ్ కంప్లైంట్స్ మోడ్. మనం ఏది చేయాలన్నా ముందు స్పెసిఫిక్ యాక్ట్స్లో ఉన్న రూల్స్ మనం కంప్లై అవుతున్నామా లేదా, విత్ ఇన్ ది రూల్స్ చేస్తున్నామా లేదా, చేయకపోతే కనుక మనం బీ రెడీ ఫర్ ది పెనాల్టీ ఆర్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ వాట్ ఎవర్ పెనాల్టీస్ కానివ్వండి, ప్రాసిక్యూషన్ కానీ ఏది ఉంటే అది దాన్ని ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యి మనం చేసుకోవాలి. సో ఇప్పుడున్న సినారియో అలా ఉందండి. జిఎస్టీ 30th నైట్ మిడ్ నైట్ జిఎస్టీ మన ప్రధానమంత్రి గారు గుడ్ అండ్ సింపుల్ ట్యాక్స్ అన్నారు, అట్టహాసంగా లాంచ్ చేశారు. అందరూ హ్యాపీగా సెలబ్రేట్ చేసుకున్నారు పార్లమెంటరీ హాల్లో. బట్ నాకు తెలిసి నేను రీసెంట్గా కూడా ఒక టీవీ ప్రోగ్రాంలో లైవ్కి వెళ్ళానండి. చాలా గ్రాస్ రూట్ లెవెల్లో జిఎస్టీ అనగానే ఏం చేయాలి, రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఏంటి, చాలా మంది చాలా తెలియదు. మేబీ డిఫరెంట్ సినారియోస్లో అయి ఉండొచ్చు. ఒకటి మన ఇండియాలో ఉన్నదే అది వస్తుందంట, 10 years 16 years టైం తీసుకున్నారు, 1 year మోడల్ లా పెట్టారు, మళ్ళీ 18 times కూర్చున్నారు ఫైనాన్స్ మినిస్టర్స్, స్టేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ మినిస్టర్స్, యూనియన్ ఫైనాన్స్ మినిస్టర్, రెవెన్యూ సెక్రటరీస్ వీళ్ళందరూ కూర్చున్నారు. రాదు, ఇప్పుడు ఇంకా పోస్ట్పోన్మెంట్ ఉంటుందంట, సెప్టెంబర్ తర్వాత అంట, మనం అప్పుడు చూసుకుందాము, లేదా ట్యాక్స్ ఇన్వాయిసెస్ ఇవన్నీ మనం రెడీగా లేము. బట్ సడన్ గా అని చెప్పాను, బట్ దే డోంట్ వాంట్ టు పోస్ట్ పోన్ ఇట్ బికాస్ మీకు అందరికి ఆఫ్ ది సోర్స్ వచ్చే ఉంటుంది. దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు చేంజ్ క్యాలెండర్ ఇయర్ ఆల్సో ఇన్ దిస్ అంటే నేను ఇంకా కన్ఫర్మ్ కాలేదు, బట్ ఆల్మోస్ట్ 99% ఏంటంటే క్యాలెండర్ ఇయర్ మన ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇయర్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి చేంజ్ ఫ్రమ్ జనవరి టు డిసెంబర్ అండి. వర్కౌట్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఇన్ని ఆల్రెడీ ఇంట్రొడ్యూస్ అయిపోయాక మళ్ళీ ఇయర్ లో కూడా అదొక కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఇంకోటి క్రియేట్ చేస్తామా అని చెప్పి దాని మీద ఇంప్లికేషన్స్ తీసుకుంటున్నారు. సో అది కనుక ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ అయితే మళ్ళీ జిఎస్టీ వెళ్ళి దాంతో రికన్సిల్ అయ్యి మళ్ళీ అంత పబ్లిక్ ఎట్ లార్జ్ ఇన్కన్వీనియన్స్ కి గురవుతారని చెప్పి దే లాంచ్ జిఎస్టీ ఆన్ July 1st. సో వచ్చి 15 days అయినా కానీ ప్రధానమంత్రి గారు అన్నట్టు గుడ్ అండ్ సింపుల్ టాస్క్ కాలేదు, కాంప్లెక్స్ గా ఉంది. రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఎట్లా తీసుకుంటే ఎవరికి ఏంటి, జిఎస్టీ ఉంటేనే నేను గుడ్ సప్లై చేస్తా అని కొంతమంది చెప్తున్నారు. ఇట్లాంటివన్నీ మనకి ఎదురవుతున్నాయి. సో వాట్ ఈస్ ది ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆఫ్ జిఎస్టీ ఆన్ రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టర్? సో మన వచ్చేసేసి మనకు బేసిక్గా పక్కా ట్రేడ్స్ ఎలా ఉన్నా కానీ జిఎస్టీ ఒకటి ఆల్రెడీ మనం ఐడియాస్ ద్వారా కానీ దేని మీద కానీ మనం ఆల్రెడీ ఎఫెక్ట్ అయ్యి కొద్దిగా రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టర్ కొద్దిగా స్లైట్గా మూవ్మెంట్ లేని పరిస్థితుల్లో కూడా ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ జిఎస్టీ వచ్చేసేసి మనకి లాంచ్ అవ్వక ముందు మనకు చెప్పింది ఏంటంటే 12% ల్యాండ్ ఇన్వాల్వ్ అయితే, లేకపోతే 18% మీరు అన్ని ఇన్పుట్స్ తీసుకోవచ్చు, సింపుల్ అని చెప్పారు. బట్ అలా లేదు. నేను ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ నన్ను ఆఫీస్ బేరర్స్ ఫ్యూ డేస్ బ్యాక్ నన్ను అప్రోచ్ అయ్యి పూర్ణ నువ్వు జిఎస్టీ మీద మాకు ఒకటి క్రెడై మేము మీటింగ్ పెట్టుకుంటున్నాము, దాని మీద మాకు పవర్ పాయింట్ ప్రెజెంటేషన్ కావాలి అంటే, సార్ ఏముంది అది చాలా సింపుల్ కదా, జిఎస్టీ చెప్పేది ఏముంది, జస్ట్ ఆల్ ఇన్పుట్స్ మీరు తీసుకొని అవుట్పుట్ మీరు కట్టేసుకోవటమే, యాజ్ సింపుల్ యాజ్ దట్ అని చెప్పాము. బట్ నేను ఎప్పుడైతే కూర్చొని పవర్ పాయింట్ ప్రెజెంటేషన్ నేను ప్రిపరేషన్ స్టార్ట్ చేశానో అప్పుడు ఒక్కొక్క సినారియోలో ఒక కాంప్లెక్సిటీ ఎదురవుతా నేను చూశాను. సో ఇట్స్ ఆల్ ఐ నో హౌ యూ ఆర్ ఫీలింగ్ రైట్ నౌ. ఇట్స్ బేసికలీ ఇంట్రాక్ట్ నేను క్విక్లీ విత్ ఇన్ బ్రీఫ్ ఇంట్రొడక్షన్ చేశాక నేను క్విక్లీ ఐ గో త్రూ ఆల్ ది ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ ఇన్ జిఎస్టీ రిగార్డింగ్ టు రియల్ ఎస్టేట్. దాని తర్వాత మనం ఇంటరాక్టివ్ సెషన్ పెట్టుకోవచ్చు అండి. సో ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ మనం గూడ్స్ కింద సర్వీస్ కింద ఇట్ ఈస్ నెసెసరీ టు డిటర్మైన్ మనం ఏదైతే సప్లై ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తాం, సప్లై ఈజ్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్ యాజ్ బార్టర్, ఎక్స్చేంజ్, ఇన్వాయిస్. ఇద్దరులాగా మనం చేసే డెఫినేషన్ మార్చబడిందండి. సప్లై డెఫినేషన్ సప్లై అన్నాడు, సేల్ అని లేదు, ఇంకేమని లేదు, సప్లై అంటున్నాడు. జిఎస్టీలో వచ్చేసేసి మెయిన్ అది మనం చేసే గుడ్సా సర్వీసెసా. మనంతా రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ కదా, మన సర్వీసెస్తో మన గుడ్స్తో సంబంధం ఉందని మీరు అనుకోవచ్చు. అంటే మనం రియల్ ఎస్టేట్తో పాటు మనం ఇండివిజువల్గా కానీ లేకపోతే కన్స్ట్రక్షన్లో కానీ ఇంకేదైనా కూడా మనం ట్రేడ్ కనుక చేస్తా అంటే కనుక సపరేట్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొవిజన్స్, గూడ్స్కి సపరేట్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, సర్వీసెస్కి సపరేట్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. సో వీ నీడ్ టు హ్యావ్ అవేర్ ఆఫ్ దట్. సపరేట్ హెచ్ఎస్ఎన్ కోడ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, సపరేట్ ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ప్లేస్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొవిజన్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై, మన అవుట్వర్డ్ సప్లై లేకపోతే ఎప్పుడు ఏ ప్లేస్లో ప్రొవిజన్ చేస్తాం దాన్ని బట్టి కూడా డిటర్మిన్ చేసుకోవాలి. సో వీ నీడ్ టు హ్యావ్ క్లారిటీ ఆన్ దట్ ఫస్ట్. మనం బేసిక్గా వచ్చేసి 90%, 99% వరకు మనం సర్వీస్ సెక్టర్లోకి వచ్చేస్తాము, విచ్ ఈస్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్, ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ ఎక్సెట్రా, కాంట్రాక్ట్స్ ఇన్ రెస్పెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ మూవ్ ప్రాపర్టీ. అది బిల్డింగ్ అయినా అవనివ్వండి, కాంప్లెక్సెస్కి అయినా అవనివ్వండి, సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్కి అయినా అవనివ్వండి, రోడ్స్, బ్రిడ్జెస్ ఎక్సెట్రా, ఇవన్నీ ఫాల్స్ అండర్ డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ అకార్డింగ్ టు జిఎస్టీ. సో దీస్ కాంట్రాక్ట్స్ ఆర్ టు బి ట్రీటెడ్ యాజ్ సర్వీస్. దాంట్లో మనకి ఏ విధమైన ఇది లేదు. సో బేసిక్గా హౌ వీ లుక్ ఎట్ హౌ లుక్ ఎట్ జిఎస్టీ ఈజ్ లాంచ్ ఆఫ్ జిఎస్టీ, ప్రీ జిఎస్టీ, పోస్ట్ జిఎస్టీ. మనకున్న మెయిన్ ఇది ట్రాన్సాక్షనల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఒకటిను, ప్రీ జిఎస్టీ ఎలా చూసాము, మన పోస్ట్ జిఎస్టీ ఎలా ఉంది. ఇంపాక్ట్ వచ్చేసేసి నాకు 2 days బ్యాక్ కూడా ఒక కస్టమర్ ఫోన్ చేసి నేను ఒక ఫ్లాట్ కొనుక్కుందాం అనుకుంటానండి, మా డెవలపర్ లేకపోతే బిల్డరు స్టాంప్ డ్యూటీ కూడా కట్టమంటున్నాడు, జిఎస్టీ లాంచ్ అయ్యాక స్టాంప్ డ్యూటీ లేదంట కదా, అసలు ఏ ఉండవు, ఓన్లీ జిఎస్టీ అంట కదా అని అన్నారు. బట్ కాదు, స్టాంప్ డ్యూటీ కంటిన్యూస్ టు బి దేర్. బట్ ఓవర్ ఏ పీరియడ్ ఆఫ్ టైం స్టాంప్ డ్యూటీ కూడా తీసేసి అది కూడా జిఎస్టీ పరిధిలోకి తీసుకురావాలనే ఆలోచన సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ది. సో యాజ్ ఆఫ్ నో స్టాంప్ డ్యూటీ స్టాండ్స్ గుడ్ ఆన్ ల్యాండ్ అండ్ ఇమ్మూవ్ ప్రాపర్టీ. ఇదివరకు రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో ఎలా ఉండేదంటే వ్యాట్, సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ డిస్ప్యూట్స్ ఉండేవి. వ్యాట్ ఆఫీసర్ వచ్చేవాడు మన ఆఫీసర్స్కి, లేదు మనం సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ కలిపాక మీరు వ్యాట్ ఛార్జ్ చేయాల్సింది, మీరు ముందు వ్యాట్ తీసుకున్నారు తర్వాత సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ ఛార్జ్ చేశారు, మీరు ఇంకా కట్టాలి. సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్ వచ్చేవాళ్ళు మన ప్రెమిసెస్కి, లేదు మీరు వ్యాట్ కూడా కలిపాక టోటల్ మీద సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ కంపోజిషన్ స్కీమ్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది అప్లై చేసి కట్టాలి, మీరు తప్పు ఛార్జ్ చేశారు అని చెప్పి ఈ మల్టిపుల్ అంటే డిస్ప్యూట్స్ ఉండేవి, కాన్స్టాంట్ డిస్ప్యూట్స్ ఓవర్లాప్ అవుతూ ఉండేవి. బట్ జిఎస్టీ వచ్చాక 1 nation 1 tax. సో ఇట్లాంటి ఆ ఆఫీసర్ రావడం, ఈ ఆఫీసర్ రావడం, ఒకే ఆఫీసర్ వస్తాడండి, స్టేట్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్, సెంట్రల్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్. మనకల్లా ఏంటంటే ఏదైనా ఇన్క్లూడబుల్ ఉన్నా ఈ అన్ని ట్యాక్సెస్ ఉండవు, జిఎస్టీ ఒకటి ఉంటే సరిపోతుంది. ఓవర్లాప్ కూడా తీయడం జరుగుతుంది. ప్లస్ అన్ని స్టేట్స్లో అక్రాస్ ఆల్ ది స్టేట్స్ యూనిఫైడ్ రేట్. జిఎస్టీ వచ్చేసేసి 1 nation 1 tax అన్నారు కానీ బట్ డిఫరెంట్ స్లాబ్ రేట్స్ వచ్చాయి, 5, 12, 28, 18 అన్నారు. అదంతా ఎందుకు అంటే వాట్ దే డిడ్ ఈస్ ప్రతి స్టేట్లో ఉన్న వ్యాట్లో ఇప్పుడైతే ఏదైతే రేట్ అయితే కడుతున్నారో ఈచ్ ఇండస్ట్రీకి వాళ్ళు యావరేజ్ చేసి అందరు యూనియన్ మినిస్టర్తో పాటు అందరు స్టేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ మినిస్టర్స్ కూర్చొని ఆ రేట్ అనేది పెట్టడం జరిగింది. మనకెందుకు 18, రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టార్కి మాకు 12 ఎందుకు లేదు, లేకపోతే మాకు 5 ఎందుకు లేదు అని అలా కాకుండా డిఫరెంట్ మనకి బేసికల్ ఇదివరకు ఇక్కడ ఏపీలో వచ్చేసేసి వ్యాట్ 1.125 కట్టేవాళ్ళం, సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ వచ్చేసి 4.5 వచ్చేది ఆఫ్టర్ అబేట్మెంట్. బట్ ఇప్పుడు తీరా చూస్తే మనం 18 కట్టాల్సి వస్తుంది. ఇన్ఫ్యాక్ట్ ముందు ఈ 12, 18 అని కూడా లేదండి. దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ నోటిఫికేషన్ రీసెంట్లీ, రీసెంట్ కాదు, లాంచ్ జిఎస్టీ లాంచ్ ముందే ఆన్ 20th June సిబిఈసి హ్యాస్ లాంచ్ గివెన్ ఎ నోటిఫికేషన్ స్టేటింగ్ దట్ ల్యాండ్ అనేది ఇంక్లూజన్ అనేది అంత సంబంధం లేకుండా ల్యాండ్ అనేది ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ చేసేసేసి మిగిలింది మీరు ఏదైతే పెడతారో కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ పార్ట్ కింద అగ్రిమెంట్లో దాని మొత్తం మీద 18% ఛార్జ్ చేయమంటుంది. సో ఇదివరకు ఏంటంటే ల్యాండ్ ఉంటే 12%, ల్యాండ్ లేకపోతే 18% అనేది లేదు. ఇప్పుడు 12% అనేది స్లాబ్ లేదు మనకి, ఓన్లీ 18% రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టర్కి వచ్చేసి ల్యాండ్ పార్ట్ ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ చేయబడుతుంది దాంట్లో. ఓకే, క్లారిఫికేషన్ ఇచ్చింది. 1/3 అంటే అది 18లో 1/3 వచ్చేసి 12 అనేది వాళ్ళ ఉద్దేశం అండి. టోటల్ గా తీసుకుంటే కనుక ల్యాండ్ వాల్యూ వచ్చి 1/3 ఉంటుందని. బట్ అలా ఉండదు. మనం ప్రాక్టికల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్ వచ్చేసరికి ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే బందర్ రోడ్ మీద ల్యాండ్ వాల్యూ ఒకటి ఉంటుంది, రిమోట్ ఏరియాలో ల్యాండ్ వాల్యూ ఒకలాగా ఉంటుంది. సో మనం చూసేది ఏంటంటే ల్యాండ్ వాల్యూని పక్క పెట్టేసేసి మిగిలిందంతా దాని మీద 18% కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ పార్ట్ మీద 18% ఛార్జ్ చేయాలి మనం. ఓకే, ఈ ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ప్రాసెస్ లో మనకి మీరు వినే ఉంటారు చాలా ఫోరమ్స్ లో. నేను ఇప్పుడు చెప్పబోయేది కూడా లాస్ట్ 1 year ఉన్నది మనం ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ రేట్ కింద తీసుకోవచ్చు అని చెప్పారు. ఏంటది ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ రేట్ అనేది? మనం ఇదివరకు వ్యాట్ రిటర్న్స్ లో కానీ సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ రిటర్న్స్ లో కానీ వ్యాట్ అనేది కట్టేసే వాళ్ళం. మనం ఏ ఇన్పుట్ తీసుకునే వాళ్ళం కాదు. మనం కొనే ఇన్పుట్స్ మీద, మెటీరియల్ మీద, శాండ్ మీద, సిమెంట్ ఏదైతే ఛార్జెస్ అయ్యండి, ఏ సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ కట్టినా కానివ్వండి, ఏది కానివ్వండి, అది ఇన్పుట్ కింద తీసుకునే వాళ్ళం కాదు. జస్ట్ మనం దేర్ ఇస్ టు బి ఓన్లీ అవుట్వర్డ్. బట్ ద అపాయింటెడ్ డే అనే పదం ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి జూలై 1 ముందు నుంచి 1 year లోపు, అంటే లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ జూలై 1 2016 నుంచి మీకు ఉన్న క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ కానివ్వండి, ఇన్వాయిసెస్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దాని మీద మీరు కట్టిన వ్యాట్, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ కంపెనీస్ కి మెయిన్ గా వ్యాట్ మనం క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ తీసుకునేది లేదు. మిగిలిన ట్రేడ్ సెక్టర్స్ వచ్చేసి June 30th వ్యాట్ రిటర్న్ లో చూపించిన వ్యాట్ ని మనం క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు అని సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ చెప్పింది. బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ కంపెనీస్ కి మనం ఏంటంటే ఫర్మ్స్ ఏమనండి, కంపెనీస్ ఏమనండి, మనం ఏది తీసుకునే వాళ్ళం కాదు. వ్యాట్ లో జస్ట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఒకటి కట్టేసి చూపించే వాళ్ళము. సో దట్ వ్యాట్ వీ కెన్ బి క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ నౌ. మీరు ఏదైతే కట్టారో మీరందరూ ఇన్వాయిసెస్ మెయింటైన్ చేసుకుంటే బెస్ట్. ఎవరు చెక్ చేస్తారు సార్ ఇన్వాయిసెస్ వచ్చి? మనం ఎంతో కొంత క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు కదా కట్టేసేసి. అంటే చెకింగ్ విల్ బి డన్ ఆఫ్టర్వర్డ్స్. 3 months అవనండి, 6 months అవనండి, స్టేట్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్స్ కానీ సెంట్రల్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్స్ కానీ దే విల్ కమ్ అండ్ సీ ద ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ రేట్ విచ్ వీ హ్యావ్ అవైల్డ్ అకార్డింగ్ టు ది ఇన్వాయిసెస్ విచ్ వీ మెయింటైన్ అనమాట. సో లాస్ట్ 1 year లోపు మీరు కట్టిన ఇన్పుట్స్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ రూపాన కానీ, సెంట్రల్ ఎక్సైజ్ రూపాన కానీ, ఇద్దరు సెంట్రల్ ఎక్సైజ్ ఇన్పుట్ లాగా వచ్చేది కాదు. బట్ ఇప్పుడు సెంట్రల్ ఎక్సైజ్ ఇన్పుట్ కింద తీసుకోవచ్చు మనం. సో ఆ ఇన్వాయిసెస్ మెయింటైన్ చేసి ఉంటే ఓకే, మెయింటైన్ చేయకపోతే 18% స్లాబ్లో ఉన్నాం కాబట్టి మనం 60% దాకా మనకి క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ మనం 60% ఇవ్వచ్చు మనం చూపించిన స్టాక్ ని. అది ఎలా వస్తుంది సార్? March 31st మన క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ అని చూపించిన దాంట్లో ఉన్న వాల్యూ నుంచి ప్లస్ లాస్ట్ 3 months లో ఉన్న వాల్యూ దానికి యాడ్ చేసేసుకొని ఆ రెండు కలుపుకున్న దాంట్లో నుంచి ఇన్వాయిసెస్ ఉంటే ఫుల్ 100% తీసుకోవచ్చు. తీసుకోకపోతే కనుక 60% బేసిస్తో మనకి ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. ప్లస్ ఈ తీసుకున్న ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ బెనిఫిట్ ని మనం ఎక్కడ చూపించాలి, ఏ రిటర్న్ అయ్యాలి, ఎక్కడ చూపించాలి? బేసిక్ అదొక డైలమా ఉందండి. చాలా రోజు పొద్దున్నే 2-3 కాల్ చేస్తున్నారు, సార్ ఏంటి మేము ఎక్కడ ఏదైనా ఫైల్ చేయాలని. GSTR ట్రాన్స్1 అనే రిటర్న్ ఒకటి పెట్టారు. 90 days ఫ్రమ్ ది అపాయింటెడ్ డే అన్నారు. అంటే July 1 నుంచి September 30th లోపు GSTR ట్రాన్స్1 అని ఎనీ అన్యూటిలైజ్డ్ ITC credits to be carry forward from VAT returns or excise returns. మనకు VAT రిటర్న్ ఎక్సైజ్ రిటర్న్ లో ఏదైనా క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ ఉంటే క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ తీసుకుంటాము. లేకపోతే కనుక మనం కట్టింది జనరల్గా నేను ఇందాక చెప్పాను కదా ఎగ్జాంపుల్లో, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ కంపెనీస్ కి VAT ఉండదని, మనం రిటర్న్ క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేసుకునేది లేదని, అది క్రెడిట్ లాగా తీసుకోవచ్చు ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఇన్వాయిసెస్ ఉంటే కనుక. లేకపోతే కనుక జనరలైజ్డ్ క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ వాల్యూ మీద మీరు క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, విచ్ విల్ బి చెక్డ్ ఆఫ్ బై ఆఫీసర్స్ ఆఫ్టర్వర్డ్స్. చెక్ చేయకుండా మనం ఏదో గాల్లో ఫిగర్ లాగా తీసుకోకుండా, ఏదో ర్యాండమ్ బేసిస్ లో చేసుకోకుండా మనం తీసుకున్న వాల్యూకి యూ ఎరవేట్ సమ్ బేసిక్ ప్రాపర్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్. దీన్ని ట్రాన్స్1 అనేది 90 days లో ఫైల్ చేశాక ట్రాన్స్2 అనేది ఒకటి ఫైల్ చేయాలండి. అది మంత్ బేసిస్ ఉంటుంది. ట్రాన్స్2 ఏంటి అంటే మనం June 30th అయిపోయింది, మనం ఈ ట్రాన్స్1 అనేది ఫైల్ చేశాము, ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ మనకు 1 lakh rupees అని చెప్పి దాంట్లో చెప్పాక నెక్స్ట్ 6 months లోపు మనం తీసుకున్న ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ ని యాంటీ ప్రాఫిటీరింగ్ మెజర్స్ అని ఒక క్లాస్ పెట్టారు GSTలో. యాంటీ ప్రాఫిటీరింగ్ ఏంటంటే సింపుల్ గా చెప్పాలంటే దాంట్లో 1 line లో చెప్పాలంటే మీకు ఏదైతే బెనిఫిట్ తీసుకున్నారో ప్రీవియస్ గా కట్టిన ఇన్పుట్స్ నుంచి అది మీ కస్టమర్స్ కి పాస్ ఆన్ చేయాలి. సార్ ఎలా పాస్ ఆన్ చేస్తాం? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం June 30th కి మనకు ఉన్న స్టాక్స్ మీద 1 lakh తీసుకున్నాను చెప్పాను కదా ఇందాక. 1 lakh అంతే ఉంది. మనం దాని తర్వాత ఎన్ని యూనిట్స్ అమ్మాల్సి ఉంది, ఇంకా 5 రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్స్ అమ్మాలి ఇంకా మనం. సో ఈచ్ యూనిట్ హ్యావ్ ఏ 20,000 ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్. మనం తీసుకున్నాము, ఒక యూనిట్ అమ్ముతున్నాము, అతనికి మనం చేసే ఇన్వాయిస్ లో లెస్ ఈ ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ అవైల్డ్ ఆన్ ది ఓపెనింగ్ స్టాక్ అని చెప్పి చూపించి ఆ 20,000 అనేది బెనిఫిట్ పాస్ ఆన్ చేయాలి కస్టమర్ కి. 80,000 అనేది ఆటోమేటిక్ గా ఏ మంత్ బేసిస్ లో ట్రాన్స్2 అనేది ఫైల్ చేయాలి. ఆ మంత్ లో మీరు అమ్మలేదు, ఆ 1 lakh అంతే క్రెడిట్ క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ అవుతుంది. సెకండ్ మంత్ లో అమ్మలేదు, ఆగస్టులో అమ్మలేదు, సెప్టెంబర్ లో అమ్మలేదు, క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ అవుతుంది. అక్టోబర్ లో మీరు 2 యూనిట్స్ అమ్మారు, ఈచ్ యూనిట్ 20,000 అయితే కనుక 2 యూనిట్స్ వచ్చేసి 40,000 మీరు అవైల్ చేసి మిగిలిన 60,000 మళ్ళీ మీరు క్యారీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చూపించాలి. ఇది ఎప్పుడు దాకా ఇచ్చారు? 6 taxable periods అన్నారు. taxable period ఇన్ GST వచ్చేసేసి ఎవ్రీ మంత్. సో 6 taxable periods ఫ్రమ్ July 1 అంటే కనుక డిసెంబర్ 31 దాకా. ఈ డిసెంబర్ 31 లోపే మనం ఇన్పుట్ ట్యాక్స్ క్రెడిట్ ఏదైతే తీసుకున్నామో ఓపెనింగ్ స్టాక్ మీద అది మనం కస్టమర్కి తీసుకుంటే కనుక కస్టమర్కి పాస్ ఆన్ చేయాలి. కస్టమర్కి పాస్ ఆన్ చేయలేదు, మనం 6 months లోపు ఏ యూనిట్స్ అమ్మలేదు, ఏంటి సార్ 1 lakh ఏమవుతుంది? వీ నీడ్ టు రివర్స్ ఇట్. మనం ఇన్పుట్ కింద తీసుకుంటే కనుక మనం రివర్సల్ చేయాలి. మనకు ఆ క్రెడిట్ బెనిఫిట్ ల్యాప్స్ అవుతుంది, మనం కస్టమర్కి ఎటువంటి బెనిఫిట్ పాస్ ఆన్ చేయలేము. ఇది వచ్చేసి ట్రాన్సిషనల్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ అండి. సో జిఎస్టీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయాలన్నా ముందు రిజిస్ట్రేషన్. మనం మ్యాక్సిమం అందరం 99% ప్రెసెంట్ ఇయర్ జిఎస్టీ హిట్ అయిపోతాము. 20 lakhs థ్రెషోల్డ్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ మనం రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టార్లో. సో వీఆర్ లైబుల్ ఫర్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్. ఆల్రెడీ ఇదివరకు కనుక మీరు సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్, వ్యాట్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఉంటే కనుక యూ నీడ్ టు మైగ్రేట్ ఇట్ టు జిఎస్టీ. మీరు అందరూ 99% చేసి ఉంటారు. చేయకపోతే కనుక న్యూ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఓపెన్ చేశారంటే 26th నుంచే ఆటోమేటిక్గా మీరు అప్లై చేసి ఆ 20 lakhs థ్రెషోల్డ్ లిమిట్ చూసుకొని మీరు అప్లై చేసేసేసి సింపుల్గా మీరు పార్ట్నర్షిప్ ఫర్మ్ అయితే పార్ట్నర్షిప్ డీడ్ను ప్లస్ పాన్ కార్డ్, ఫొటోస్ అండ్ మేనేజింగ్ పార్ట్నర్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ డీసీ అడుగుతుంది. కంపెనీ ఏదైతే వేరే రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, మీరు ఎన్ని చార్టెడ్ అకౌంట్ ఆఫీస్కి వెళ్తే వాకిన్ మీకు రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ చేస్తున్నారు యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్గా. సో టేక్ ఎ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఆన్ దట్. ఈ 20 lakhs అనేది ఏంటంటే సరే బేసిక్గా అందరం హిట్ అవుతాము. మిగిలిన ట్యాక్స్ జనరల్గా 20 lakhs అనేది పెట్టారు. చిన్న వాళ్ళు 20 lakhs దాటపోతే కనుక ఆ ట్యాక్స్ అనేది కన్జ్యూమర్స్కి ఉండదు అని మనం హిట్ అవుతాం కాబట్టి అది పెద్ద ప్రొవిజన్ కింద నేను తీసుకోవట్లేదు మన రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టార్కి వచ్చేసేసి. ఇంట్రాస్టేట్ సప్లై అంటే విత్ ఇన్ ది ఏపీ. ఇంట్రాస్టేట్ సప్లై మనం ఏదైనా వెళ్ళి హైదరాబాద్లో మన కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ నచ్చి మన ఏదైనా చిన్న బిల్డింగ్ కట్టమని విత్ ఇన్ 6 months స్పాన్ ఆఫ్ టైంలో మన పిలిచారు. మనం వెళ్ళి అక్కడ వెళ్ళి కన్స్ట్రక్ట్ చేసి వచ్చాం. దానికి 20 lakhs థ్రెషోల్డ్ లిమిట్ అనేది ఉండదు. స్టార్టింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ 1 rupee వీ నీడ్ టు టేక్ ఎ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ అండ్ వీ నీడ్ టు పే ది ట్యాక్స్ టు ది లోకల్ గవర్నమెంట్. అంటే అక్కడ సిజిఎస్టీ, అక్కడ ఎస్జిఎస్టీ కట్టాలండి. నాట్ లైబుల్ టు రిజిస్టర్లో నేను మొన్న పీపీటీ నేను చెప్పాను కదా మీకు రెడీ చేసేటప్పుడు, ప్యూర్ లేబర్ కాంట్రాక్ట్స్ ఫర్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ సింగిల్ రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్స్ జిఎస్టీ పరిధిలో రాదు. అంటే ఉదాహరణ కోసం అండి, మనకి ఏదో మినిస్టర్ గారు పిలిచారు, మనని ప్యూర్గా మనని చేసి పెట్టమన్నారు కన్స్ట్రక్షన్, మెటీరియల్ అంతా ఆయనే కొంటాడు, అంతా చేస్తాడు, జస్ట్ ప్యూర్ లేబర్గా మన ఏమైనా మన సర్వీసెస్ కనుక అవైల్ చేసుకుంటే కనుక మనం జిఎస్టీ పరిధిలో రాము. మనం ఎటువంటి ట్యాక్స్ మనం కలెక్ట్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్కి కట్టాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. సింగిల్ రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్ అండి అది. సింగిల్ రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్ ఏదైనా పెద్ద మనం కట్టేటట్టు అయితే కనుక, ప్యూర్ లేబర్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ అయితే కనుక మనం కట్టాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, మనం ఆ స్కోప్లోకి రాము. సో కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ సర్వీసెస్ అండర్ జిఎస్టీ లా. అసలు ఏమిటి కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ సర్వీసెస్ అంటారు? వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ సర్వీస్. వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ సర్వీస్ ఇలా డిఫైన్ చేశారండి జిఎస్టీలో. మీన్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ ఫర్ బిల్డింగ్, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్, ఫ్యాబ్రికేషన్, కంప్లీషన్, ఎరెక్షన్, ఇన్స్టాలేషన్, ఫిట్టింగ్ అవుట్, ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్, మోడిఫికేషన్, రిపేర్, ఆల్టరేషన్, commissioning of any immovable property wherein transfer of property in goods, whether as goods or in some other form involved in the execution of such contract. నాకు తెలిసి ఇంగ్లీష్ డిక్షనరీలో ఉన్న పదాలన్నీ వాడారండి, ఏది మరి వదిలేరో నాకు తెలియదు. మ్యాక్సిమం మనం రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టార్లో ఇచ్చే పదాలన్నీ వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్లోకి వచ్చేసేస్తాము. మీరు చూసినట్టయితే కనుక ఆ డెఫినేషన్ని వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ డెఫినేషన్లో, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ బిల్డింగ్ ఆఫ్ సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఇంటెండెడ్ ఫర్ సేల్, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఏ కాంప్లెక్స్ బిల్డింగ్, సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ or a part thereof including a complex or building intended for sale to a buyer wholly or partly except where the entire consideration has been received after issuance of completion certificate. మనం సేల్ పర్పస్లో కనుక బిల్డింగ్, సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అన్ని కడితే కనుక అది వచ్చేసి కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ బిల్డింగ్ ఆర్ సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆ సర్వీస్లోకి వస్తుందండి, ఆ హెడ్లోకి వస్తుంది. రెంటింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇమూవబుల్ ప్రాపర్టీ, రెంటింగ్ ఆఫ్ కమర్షియల్ ఇమూవబుల్ ప్రాపర్టీ అంటే మనం కమర్షియల్ స్పేస్ ఏదైనా మనం కట్టి మనం కనుక మనం చేసే ప్రాజెక్ట్స్లో ఏదైనా ఒక కమర్షియల్ కాంప్లెక్స్ మనం కట్టి మనమే ఉంచేద్దాం అనుకున్నాం మన కంపెనీ కింద, మన పార్ట్నర్షిప్ ఫర్మ్ కింద, అది రెంటింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇచ్చేటట్టయితే కనుక అది ఇంకొక డెఫినేషన్, రెంటింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇమూవబుల్ ప్రాపర్టీ డెఫినేషన్ కింద వస్తుంది. ఈ 3 కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ సర్వీసెస్ కింద తీసుకొచ్చారు. బేసిక్గా నన్ను కొంతమంది అడిగే క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే, సార్ మాది హెచ్ఎస్ఎన్ కోడ్ పెట్టాలంట, హెచ్ఎస్ఎన్ కోడ్ ఏంటి, ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ అని అడుగుతున్నారు. ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ అని గూగుల్లో కొడతంటే ఏదో 8 digit కోడ్ ఏదో వస్తుంది, 99తో స్టార్ట్ అవ్వాలంట కోడ్ అని అంటున్నారు. సో మీరు అది చూసినట్టయితే కనుక నేను చెప్పిన ఇందాక 3 కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ఏ కాంప్లెక్స్, బిల్డింగ్, సివిల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ వచ్చేసి మన ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ వచ్చి 9954లో వస్తుందండి. సరే ఏంటి మీరు 4 digitsలో ఆపేశారు అనుకుంటే కనుక less than 1.5 crore టర్న్ ఓవర్ ఉంటే మనకి ఇయర్కి మీరు అసలు ఎటువంటి హెచ్ఎస్ఎన్ కోడ్ కానీ ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ కానీ మీరు ఇన్వాయిస్లో చూపించాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. లెస్ దాన్ 1.5 crore టర్న్ ఓవర్ ఉంటే కనుక, విత్ ఇన్ 1.5 to 2 crores టర్న్ ఓవర్ లోపు కనుక మనం ఉంటే 2 digit ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ చూపించాలండి. మనం 2 digit ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ వచ్చేసి 99, అది కామన్గా అందరికీ ఉంటుంది. 2 between and 5 లోపు ఉంటే కనుక మీరు 4 digit ఎస్ఎస్సి కోడ్ చూపించాలి. మనకి ఆ 4 heads నేను చూపించిన అదర్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ సర్వీసెస్ అవనివ్వండి, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ వర్క్స్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ యాజ్ పర్ సెక్షన్ 2 సెక్షన్ 119 అవనివ్వండి, ఏదైనా అవనివ్వండి, అదంతా 9954 హెడ్లోకే వస్తుంది. ఇంకా మనం ఓవర్ అండ్ అబౌవ్ 5 crores టర్న్ ఓవర్ కనుక చేసేటట్టయితే 9954 పక్కన స్పెసిఫిక్ కోడ్స్ వస్తాయి. సో జనరల్గా కేస్ టు కేస్ బేసిస్లో ఉంటుంది. నేను అందుకే మీకు సైడ్లో పెట్టలేదు. దట్ యూ కెన్ గెట్ ఇట్ అండర్ 9954 చాప్టర్ హెడ్డింగ్. మీరు ఏ కోడ్ వేయాలనేది 5 crores టర్న్ ఓవర్ తర్వాత ఇన్వాయిస్లో. ట్యాక్స్ రేట్స్ యూనిఫామ్గా 18%. మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేసినట్టయితే కనుక ప్రీవియస్ స్లైడ్లో ట్యాక్స్ రేట్స్ యూనిఫామ్గా 18% అండి. ప్యూర్ లేబర్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ ఫర్ కన్స్ట్రక్టింగ్ పర్టైనింగ్ టు సింగిల్ రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్స్, నేను ఇందాక సైడ్లో చెప్పినట్టుగా నిల్ రేటు, దానికి జిఎస్టీ పరిధిలో నుంచి తీసేయడం జరిగింది. క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ అని ఒకటి వినే ఉంటారు మీరు ఫోరమ్స్లో డిస్కస్ చేసినప్పుడు కానీ, ముగ్గురు నలుగురు మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ కానీ మీ కామన్ సర్కిల్స్లో కూర్చున్నప్పుడు సార్ క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ అని పెట్టారంట, ఇదేంటి? క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ వచ్చేసేసి మనం ఒక హైదరాబాద్కి వెళ్ళి నేను ఇందాక చెప్పిన ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్లో ఏదైనా సింపుల్ ప్రాజెక్ట్, ఇక్కడ ఆల్రెడీ వెంచర్స్ వేస్తున్నాం మనం విజయవాడలో, గుంటూరు, విజయవాడ, తిరుపతి, వీటన్నిటిలో మనం వెంచర్స్ వేస్తున్నాం. ఇది కాకుండా హైదరాబాద్లో చిన్న ఓవర్ స్పాన్ ఆఫ్ 6 months క్విక్ వెంచర్, లేకపోతే ఓవర్ స్పాన్ ఆఫ్ 1 year క్విక్ వెంచర్ మనం ప్లాన్ చేసుకున్నాము. అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి మళ్ళీ తెలంగాణలో బేసికల్లీ రెసిడెన్షియల్ ప్రాపర్టీ వచ్చేసి లొకేషన్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై అండి. సప్లై వచ్చేసి లొకేషన్ బట్టి ట్యాక్స్ వేయమన్నారు. సో అక్కడ తెలంగాణ సిజిఎస్టీ, తెలంగాణ ఎస్జిఎస్టీ కలెక్ట్ చేయాలి, కట్టాలి. సిజిఎస్టీ మామూలు కామనే, అది కట్టాలి. దానికి రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ మీరు ఏంటంటే మళ్ళీ ఇంకో వర్టికల్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ తీసుకోకుండా, జిఎస్టీ అని తీసుకోకుండా క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ కింద మీరు రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ తీసుకోవచ్చు. ఆ స్టేట్లో, పర్టికులర్ స్టేట్లో. వేరే స్టేట్లోకి వెళ్ళినా కానీ, ఏదైనా స్టేట్లో కానీ వెళ్తే మీరు ఇట్లాంటి యూనిట్స్ ఏదైనా కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ చేయాలనుకుంటే కనుక క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ అని మీరు రిజిస్టర్ అవ్వచ్చు. అది బేసిక్గా ముందు 90 daysకి రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ ఇస్తారు. మనం ఒక కామన్ డిపాజిట్ కట్టాలి. రిటర్న్ కూడా 90 daysకి వేస్తే సరిపోతుంది కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయాక. లేదు వి స్పెసిఫిక్ మన 90 days కంప్లీట్ చేయలేదు, విత్ పర్మిషన్ ఫ్రమ్ రెస్పెక్టివ్ అథారిటీస్ వీ కెన్ ఎక్స్టెండ్ ద టైమ్ టు ఫర్దర్ మోర్ 90 days అండ్ ఫర్దర్ మోర్ 90 days. మీరు 1 year దాకా ఎక్స్టెన్షన్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. దీన్ని 1 year లోపు మ్యాక్సిమం అంటే కంప్లీట్ చేస్తున్నారు. దాన్ని క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ దాకా తీసుకొచ్చారు. ఇంకా ఓవర్ అండ్ బియాండ్ 1 year వచ్చేసేసి మనం బేసిక్ జిఎస్టీనే తీసుకోవాల్సి ఉంటుంది. సో ఏదైనా స్పెసిఫిక్ చిన్న వెంచర్స్ మీరు వెళ్ళి వేరే స్టేట్లో వేసి, మీరు లాంచ్ చేసి క్విక్గా కంప్లీట్ చేసుకొని వచ్చే, బేసిక్గా రెరా వచ్చాక చిన్న చిన్న ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ 8 units లోపు మనకు రెరా హిట్ అవ్వకూడదు, లేకపోతే అది 500 SFT లోపు మనం వేసే ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ కనుక మనం ప్లాన్ చేసుకునేటట్టయితే హైదరాబాద్లో కానీ, లేకపోతే వేరే స్టేట్లో, ఏపీలో, తెలంగాణలో ఉండండి, లేకపోతే నియర్ బై స్టేట్స్లో మీరు ఏదైనా ప్లాన్ చేసుకునేటట్టయితే కనుక యూ కెన్ లుక్ ఎట్ దిస్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్. క్యాజువల్ ట్యాక్సిబుల్ పర్సన్ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ అనేది ఆ స్టేట్లో తీసుకొని దాని కింద మీరు కట్టేయచ్చు. దానికి ఏంటంటే ముందే మన టర్న్ ఓవర్ ఎంత వస్తుందని ఎస్టిమేట్ చేసి డిపాజిట్ చేయాలండి, దానికి సరిపడా. నెక్స్ట్ సైడ్ వచ్చేసి దాన్ని కన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఆఫ్ బుకింగ్ మనకు జరిగింది. మనం 15 lakhs మీద సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ ముందు సర్వీస్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆఫీసర్స్ వచ్చేసేసి రిసిప్ట్ బేసిస్ మీరు కట్టేసేయండి అనేవాళ్ళు, లేకపోతే మనం ఎండ్ దాకా ఉంచి దాన్ని అడ్వాన్సెస్తో చూపించేసేసి ఇట్లాంటి రిసిప్ట్ బేసిస్ కానీ, లేకపోతే మనం ఉంచుకుందాం అడ్వాన్సెస్తో చూపించుకుందాం, లేకపోతే హౌ యూ ప్రెజెంట్ అనేది కాదు, మనం మళ్ళీ వెనక్కి ఇచ్చేద్దాం, మనం జిఎస్టీ కట్టాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు అనేది లేదండి. బేసిక్గా 4 definitions దాన్ని కంటిన్యూ చేసి డిఫైన్ చేశాడు. 4 conditions చెప్పాడు దానికి. మనది బేసిక్గా వచ్చేసేసి జిఎస్టీ వచ్చేసేసి కంటిన్యూస్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్గా ఉంటామండి. కంటిన్యూస్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ అంటే ఏమేమి వస్తాయి? రెంటింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇమ్యూల్ ప్రాపర్టీ, కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ సర్వీసెస్, డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్. ఈ 3ని కంటిన్యూస్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీసెస్ అన్నారు. కంటిన్యూస్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ వచ్చేసేసి ఏమన్నానంటే మీన్స్ ఏ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ continuously on recurrent basis under a contract for a specified period with periodic payment obligations. Specific period means a period exceeding 3 months. పైన ఉన్న డెఫినేషన్లో స్పెసిఫిక్ పీరియడ్ అంటే 3 months ఎక్సీడ్ అయ్యి కనుక మనం కస్టమర్ తోటి అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ అవుతున్నాము, మనం ఫ్లాట్ కట్టిస్తాము లేకపోతే ఒక రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్ కట్టిస్తామని మీరు రెరాలో కూడా కండిషన్ చెప్పుకుంటారు, ముందే మీరు కస్టమర్స్ అన్ని చెప్పుకుండాలి ఎప్పుడులోపు ఫ్లాట్ హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ చేస్తారు అని, ఆ కండిషన్ అని కంప్లై అవ్వాలని. అలానే ఇక్కడ కూడా మనం ఏదైతే కనుక స్పెసిఫిక్గా అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ అయ్యి కంటిన్యూస్ బేసిస్లో మనం వాళ్ళకి సర్వీసెస్ చేస్తాం కాబట్టి ఇదంతా కంటిన్యూస్ కంప్లైంట్ కింద వస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ వస్తే కనుక ఏంటి సినారియో, ఇదివరకు దాకా మనం ముందు కన్ఫర్మేషన్ దాకా ఆగాలా లేకపోతే కట్టకుండా ఆగొచ్చా అనేది లేదండి. జస్ట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టాక్సేషన్ వచ్చేసేసి సింపుల్గా 4 స్లైడ్స్ అండి. 4 మీరు చూసినట్టయితే కనుక పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టాక్సేషన్, ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇష్యూడ్ విత్ ఇన్ ప్రిస్క్రైబ్ టైం. మీరు కనుక ప్రిస్క్రైబ్ టైం అంటే 2 years మనం కట్టించేస్తా ఉన్నాము, ఆ టైంలో మన ఇన్వాయిస్ రైట్ చేయాలి. లేకపోతే పార్ట్ వైజ్గా మీరు ఇన్వాయిస్ రైట్ చేస్తా అన్నారు, ఒక స్లాబ్ పడ్డాక ఒక ఇన్వాయిస్, లేకపోతే సెకండ్ స్లాబ్కి ఒక ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇస్తా అన్నారు కస్టమర్ తోటి. మీరు ఎలా అయితే ఎంటర్ అయ్యారో డిఫైన్డ్ సిస్టమ్ ఉండి కనుక ప్రిస్క్రైబ్ టైం కనుక మీరు పెట్టుకుంటే కనుక డేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇష్యూ ఆఫ్ ఇన్వాయిస్ ఆర్ రిసీప్ట్ ఆఫ్ పేమెంట్ విచ్ ఎవర్ ఈజ్ ఎర్లియర్. అంటే మీకు ఇవాళ వచ్చి ఒక 2 lakhs ఇచ్చేసాడు, మీరు ఆ మంత్లో ఆటోమేటిక్గా 2 lakhs మీద మీరు GST కలెక్ట్ చేయాలి, పాస్ ఆన్ చేయాలి గవర్నమెంట్కి. లేదు ఇవ్వలేదు, మీరు డేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇష్యూ ఆఫ్ ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇచ్చేసారు, ఫస్ట్ స్లాబ్ కట్టేశారు, ప్రొపోర్షనేట్గా పీరియాడికల్ పేమెంట్ కింద మీరు ఇన్వాయిస్ రేట్ చేశారు, మీకు పేమెంట్ అవ్వలేదు, అయినా మీరు ముందు మీరు కట్టేయాలి. కలెక్ట్ చేశారా లేదా అనేది కాకుండా ముందు మీరు కట్టేయాలి. సెకండ్ పాయింట్ వచ్చి వేరే ఇన్వాయిస్ నాట్ ఇష్యూడ్ విత్ ఇన్ ప్రిస్క్రైబ్ టైం బట్ డ్యూ డేట్ అంటే మనకి ఆ టైంలో 2 years లోపు మనం కట్టిస్తా ఉన్నాము, 2 years లోపు అవ్వలేదు, మనం ఇన్వాయిస్ రైజ్ చేయలేదు, మనకి రిసిప్ట్ రాలేదు, బట్ 2 years లోపు మనకి రైజ్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం వచ్చి ఆ డ్యూ డేట్ వచ్చేసింది మన అగ్రిమెంట్లో కనుక డ్యూ డేట్ కనుక హిట్ అయితే కనుక ఆ డ్యూ డేట్ రోజున ఆటోమేటిక్గా మనం GST కట్టేయాలి, కలెక్ట్ చేసినా చేయకపోయినా. థర్డ్ సినారియో వచ్చేసేసి మనకి యాక్చువల్ పేమెంట్ కనుక మన బుక్స్లో ఎప్పుడు క్రెడిట్ అయితే అప్పుడు మనం GST దాని మీద కూడా కలెక్ట్ చేసి కట్టేయాలి. ఫోర్త్ కేసు వచ్చేసేసి మన ప్రొవిజన్ ఆఫ్ సర్వీసెస్ బుక్స్లో కనుక ఎప్పుడైతే ప్రొవిజన్ ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ కింద మన బుక్స్లో వచ్చింది అని చెప్పి మనం ఇంత సర్వీస్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేసామని చెప్పి చూపిస్తాము, ఫస్ట్ స్లాబ్ కట్టి మనం క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ కింద చూపిస్తాము, లేకపోతే సెకండ్ స్లాబ్ థర్డ్ స్లాబ్ కట్టాక మనం అదంతా క్లోజింగ్ స్టాక్ ప్రొవిజన్ కింద చూపిస్తాము, అప్పుడు కూడా మనం GST కలెక్ట్ చేసి కట్టేయాలి. ఈ 4 ఏది ఎర్లియర్ అయితే అదండి. ఓకే, దట్ ఐ కామ్ మీకు క్వశ్చన్స్ స్పెసిఫిక్గా ఉంటే కనుక మళ్ళీ మనం క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ సెషన్లో మీరు అడుగురు కానీ, బట్ సింపుల్గా అంటే ఇది ఇంత స్పెసిఫిక్గా ఇంగ్లీష్ దీన్ని బ్రేక్ చేయడం అంటే మనకి కనుక ఇన్వాయిస్ ఇష్యూ చేసిన ఎప్పుడు ఇన్వాయిస్ చేస్తే అప్పుడు, 2 మనకి రిసిప్ట్ బేసిస్తో మనకి ఎప్పుడు వస్తే అప్పుడు, 3 మన బుక్స్లో మనం ప్రొవిజన్ చేసినట్టుగా మనకి సేల్ కింద మనం చూపించేసి అతను ఇవ్వలేదు ఇంకా డేటాస్లో ఉన్నా కానీ అతను ఇచ్చిన ఇవ్వకపోయినా మనం కట్టేయాలి 18%. బేసిక్ నచ్చల్ అదండి ఆ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టాక్సేషన్ చెప్పేది. సో మనకి నచ్చిన స్లైడ్, మనకి కావాల్సిన స్లైడ్ కంప్లీషన్ ఆర్ ఆక్యుపెన్సీ సర్టిఫికేట్, అప్లై ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్ అండ్ బిల్డింగ్స్ ఆఫ్ విచ్ హోల్ ఆఫ్ కన్సిడరేషన్ ఈజ్ రిసీవ్డ్ ఆఫ్టర్ కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ ఆర్ పొసెషన్ విల్ బి హౌఎవర్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ది పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ GST. సార్ మీరు బాగానే చెప్తారు, మేము అంతా పంప్ చేసి ఆ GST సర్టిఫికేట్ కంప్లీషన్ అయ్యేదాకా ఆగాలి అంటే కనుక తప్పదు, మనం ఆ ప్లానింగ్ అలా చేసుకోండి. ఒకసారి మీరంతా కట్టేసేసి కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చాక కనుక మీరు సేల్ చేస్తే ఇట్ ఈస్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ GST. హోల్ ఆఫ్ కన్సిడరేషన్, సార్ 2 lakhs వచ్చింది, ఇప్పుడు మేము కట్టేసాము, బట్ GST ఈ లోపల కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చింది, ఇంకా సేల్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ అవ్వలేదు, మిగిలినంతా మనం GSTలో అవుట్ ఆఫ్ పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ GST అంటే కాదు. మీరు ముందే సేల్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ అయిపోయారు, దాని గురించి 2 lakhs వచ్చింది, దట్ విల్ బి పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ GST పర్వ్యూ ఓన్లీ. మీరు ఏదైతే కంప్లీట్గా అసలు అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ అవ్వకుండా అతనితో ఏం చేసుకోకుండా ఏం రిసిప్ట్ తీసుకోకుండా ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో GST కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చాక ఏదైతే మీరు సేల్ కనుక చేస్తే కనుక అది మాత్రమే అవుట్ ఆఫ్ పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ GST వస్తుంది. క్లారిఫైగా చెప్పాడు. సప్లై ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్ అండ్ బిల్డింగ్స్ ఆఫ్ విచ్ హోల్ ఆఫ్ కన్సిడరేషన్ ఈజ్ రిసీవ్డ్ ఆఫ్టర్ కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్. సో బేసిక్గా అది ఒకటి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, మీరు ప్లానింగ్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు అలా చూసుకోండి. ఏదైనా యూనిట్స్ కనుక చివరిలో ఉండి కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చే దగ్గరలో ఉంటే కనుక వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి మనం అడ్వాన్సెస్ తీసుకోకుండా ఉండటం, లేకపోతే రిసీప్ట్ బేసిస్లో వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి ఏం అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఎంటర్ అవ్వకుండా ఉండటం, తర్వాత కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చాకే మన అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఒకవేళ మీరు ఎంటర్ అయినా ఆ అగ్రిమెంట్ కాకుండా వేరే ఏదైనా అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఉండేటట్టు డైరెక్ట్ సేల్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఉండేటట్టుగా ప్లాన్ చేసుకోండి. ఓకే, వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ సప్లై, మన వాల్యూ ఎంత రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్కి వచ్చేదానికి ఏమేమి కలుపుకోవాలి, ఓన్లీ జస్ట్ అగ్రిమెంట్ సేల్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఇన్వాయిస్ అయినా లేకపోతే ఇంకేంటి అనేది. ద వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సర్వీసెస్ ఆర్ బోత్ షెల్ బి ది ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూ విచ్ ఈస్ ది ప్రైస్ పెయిడ్ ఆర్ పేయబుల్ ఫర్ ది సెట్ సప్లై ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సర్వీసెస్ ఆర్ బోత్ where the supplier and the recipient of the supply are not related and the price is the sole consideration for the supply. మనకి ప్రైస్ వచ్చినా రాకపోయినా మనం పెట్టిన ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూ కనుక సేల్ అగ్రిమెంట్ రోజు ఉన్నదైతే అదంతా ట్రాన్సాక్షన్లోకి అదంతా వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ సప్లై కింద ఉంటుందండి. టోటల్ అది విల్ బి ది వాల్యుయేషన్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై మనం చేసిన సర్వీస్ వాల్యూ. దాంట్లో ఏమేమి ఇంక్లూడ్ ఉన్నాయి, ఏమేమి ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ ఉన్నాయి. ఇది కూడా ఒక కామన్ క్వశ్చన్ నాకు వెరీ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్లీ పొద్దున ఒక క్వశ్చన్, ఈవినింగ్ ఒక క్వశ్చన్ మా క్లయింట్స్ నుంచి వస్తుంది. సార్ ఏంటి డిస్కౌంట్ అనేది చూపించవచ్చా, డిస్కౌంట్ కనుక చూపిస్తే అది అవుట్ ఆఫ్ పర్వ్యూ అంట. ఎస్, డిస్కౌంట్ హ్యాస్ బిన్ స్పెసిఫికల్లీ ఎక్స్క్లూడెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ది ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూ. మీరు ఇది ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేసేసి మీరు ప్లానింగ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు మీరు కస్టమర్ తోటి, దాన్ని డిస్కౌంట్ కింద చూపించుకోవచ్చు. ఇన్వాయిస్లో మీరు రైట్ చేసే ట్యాక్స్ ఇన్వాయిస్లో మీరు ఏదైనా బెనిఫిట్ కనుక పాస్ ఆన్ చేసి మీరు ఇన్పుట్స్ రూపాన్ని ఏదైనా బెనిఫిట్ తీసుకున్నది మీరు ఛార్జ్ చేసేది కనుక ఏదైనా 1 lakh 2 lakh స్పెసిఫిక్ ప్రాక్టికల్ పర్పస్ నేను మాట్లాడుతున్నాను. ఈ విల్ బార్గెనింగ్ ఆన్ దట్ లాస్ట్ 1 lakh కానీ 2 lakh కానీ ఈ విల్ బార్గెనింగ్ అనమాట. మీరు అలా కనుక అది ఎట్లా పెట్టాలి ఇన్వాయిస్లో డిస్కౌంట్ అనేది తగ్గించి ఇవ్వాలి అంటే కనుక మీరు డిస్కౌంట్ అని రాసేసేసి అది నెట్ అయ్యాక వచ్చిన ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూ మీదే సిజిఎస్టీ కానీ ఎస్జిఎస్టీ కానీ వేయబడుతుందండి. సో మీరు అలా ప్లాన్ చేసుకోండి డిస్కౌంట్. వాట్ ఆర్ ద వాల్యుయేషన్ విల్ బి ఇన్క్లూడెడ్ ఇన్ ది వాల్యుయేషన్. అదర్ ట్యాక్సెస్, డ్యూటీస్, సెసెస్, ఫీజ్ ఎక్సెప్ట్ ఎస్జిఎస్టీ, సిజిఎస్టీ, ఐజిఎస్టీ ఈ 3 కాకుండా మిగిలింది ఏదైనా మీరు రూపాన కట్టినా కానీ అది కూడా ఆ వాల్యూలోకి మీరు కట్టేశారు, అది కూడా వాల్యుయేషన్ కింద వేసి మీరు కట్టాలండి. సిజిఎస్టీ, ఎస్జిఎస్టీ అమ్మేటప్పుడు అది కూడా ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూలో కలుస్తుంది. దాంతోపాటు వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సర్వీసెస్ సప్లైడ్ బై ది రిసిపియంట్. అంటే మనం ఒక సెట్ ఆఫ్ టైల్స్ మనం ఇద్దాం అనుకున్నాము, బట్ కస్టమర్ వచ్చి ఈ టైల్స్ కాదు ఇంకో టైల్స్ వేయమని అతనే సప్లై చేశాడు. దాని వాల్యూ ఈ వాల్యూ మనకు మిగిలిపోయింది, మన పొజిషన్ స్టాక్ లో ఉండిపోయింది. ఆ వాల్యూ వచ్చేసేసి ఒక 1 lakh అనుకుందాము. అది కూడా మన ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూలో మనం సర్వీస్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేసినట్టండి. దాని మీద కూడా మనం 18% అది కూడా ఇంక్లూడ్ చేసుకోవాలి. సార్ అదేంటి అది కస్టమర్ ఇస్తాడు కదా మనకేం సంబంధం అనేది మనకు జనరల్ డౌట్, బట్ దట్ ఈస్ లా మనకు ఫాలో అవ్వాల్సిందే. దానికి అది ఏం లేదు, అది స్పెసిఫిక్ గా చెప్పాడు. వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సర్వీసెస్ సప్లైడ్ బై ది రిసిపియంట్. అదేమన్నా కానీ మనం తీసుకొని పెట్టాల్సిందే. అది కూడా ఎనీ అదర్ ఇన్సిడెంటల్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఇన్కర్డ్ బై ది బయర్స్ అది కూడా వాల్యూ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూలోకి వస్తుంది. ప్లస్ మీరు ఏదైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కానీ ట్యాక్స్ కానీ అంటే ఈ ఇన్సిడెంటల్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ అంటే జనరల్ గా మీరు ఎన్ఐపీ కాన్స్టెంట్ డిపాజిట్ అని లేకపోతే ఇంకా డిఫరెంట్ నేమ్స్ మనం పెట్టి తీసుకుంటామండి. అవి కూడా ఆటోమేటిక్ గా ఈ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ వాల్యూలోకి యాడ్ చేసుకొని మీరు జిఎస్టీ కట్టాల్సి ఉంటుంది. ఇంట్రెస్ట్, లేట్ ఫీ, పెనాల్టీ మీరు సర్టెన్ టైంలో మనకి కస్టమర్ ఇవ్వలేదు, మనం ఏదైనా ఇది రేర్ సినారియో అంటే చార్జ్ చేస్తున్నారో లేదో తెలియదు, ఇట్స్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ కేస్ టు కేస్ బేసిస్. బట్ అట్లాంటి కనుక మీరు ఏదైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కానీ లేట్ ఫీ కానీ పెనాల్టీ కానీ మీరు చార్జ్ చేస్తే దట్ ఆల్సో విల్ బి అండర్ ది పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ జిఎస్టీ. మీరు ఆ ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ కలిపి దాని మీద కూడా వేయాలి. ప్లస్ ఎనీ అదర్ సబ్సిడీస్ రిసీవ్డ్ ఫ్రమ్ ది సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్, అదర్ దెన్ గవర్నమెంట్ సబ్సిడీస్, ఎనీ అదర్ సబ్సిడీ కూడా మనం రిసీవ్ అయితే మనం చేసుకున్న ఇన్పుట్స్ మీద మనం చేసిన దాని మీద లేకపోతే ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్ మనం ఏదైనా చేసాము దానికి ఏదైనా సబ్సిడీ వచ్చింది నాకు తెలియదండి. మన జనరల్గా ఏదైనా సబ్సిడీస్ ఉంటాయేమో రియల్ ఎస్టేట్ సెక్టర్లో. సో ఆ సబ్సిడీస్ కూడా మరి పెట్టే ఆ పదం కూడా ఇంక్లూజబుల్ ఆఫ్ ట్యాక్సబుల్ వాల్యూ అని అది కూడా యాడ్ చేసి మనం కస్టమర్కి పాస్ ఆన్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఆ వాల్యూలో కూడా కలుపుకొని దాని మీద కూడా జిఎస్టీ కలెక్ట్ చేసి మనం కట్టాలి. ప్లేస్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై నేను ఇందాక చెప్పాను, ఇందులో క్లారిటీ ఉందండి, దీంట్లో ఏమి రకమైన ఇదేం లేదు. ప్లేస్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై వచ్చేసేసి ఎక్కడైతే ఇమ్యూల్ ప్రాపర్టీ లొకేట్ చేయబడుతుందో అక్కడే మన ప్లేస్ ఆఫ్ సప్లై. సో విజయవాడలో మన ప్రాపర్టీ ఉంటుంది కనుక ఇట్ కమ్స్ అండర్ ఏపీ పర్వ్యూ. ఏపీ సిజిఎస్టీ, ఏపీ ఎస్జిఎస్టీ కలెక్ట్ చేసి కట్టాలి. గుంటూరు, తిరుపతి ఏదైనా కానివ్వండి క్లారిటీ ఉంది. సర్వీసెస్ డైరెక్ట్లీ ఇన్ రిలేషన్ టు an immovable property and ancillary to construction contract shall be the location of the immovable property or boat or vessel as the case may be is located or intended to be located. సింపుల్ గా మీకు చెప్పాలంటే కనుక మనం విజయవాడలో ఉన్నాము, మనం బెంగళూరు ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ సర్వీసెస్ మనం అవైల్ చేసుకున్నాము. అతను వచ్చి ఇక్కడ ప్రాపర్టీ ఇక్కడ ఉంది కాబట్టి అతను ఏదో ఐజిఎస్టీ వేసి అవన్నీ వేస్తానంటే మనం ఒప్పుకోకూడదు, కుదరదండి. అతను ఇక్కడ రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ తీసుకొని మనకు సిజిఎస్టీ, ఎస్జిఎస్టీ స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి. మనం కట్టేది కూడా సిజిఎస్టీ, ఎస్జిఎస్టీ ఉంటుంది. అదే మనం ఇన్పుట్ గుండా కూడా తీసుకోవాలి. మీరు ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కనుక తీసుకున్నట్లయితే మిస్టర్ ఏ ఆఫ్ విజయవాడ కన్స్ట్రక్టింగ్ ఏ హౌస్ ఇన్ హైదరాబాద్ అండ్ అపాయింట్స్ మిస్టర్ బి ఆఫ్ బెంగళూరు టు ప్రొవైడ్ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ సర్వీస్